The air is warm even before the sun has cleared the horizon. It moves slowly across the lowland, thick with the smell of damp earth and crushed fern, of resin warming in the first grey light. There is no hurry in it. The world here breathes the way a sleeping animal breathes, deep and unbothered, and you breathe along with it without meaning to. You are standing at the edge of a wide river plain, somewhere in a world that is 150 million years younger than the one you left behind. The grass has not been invented yet. In its place there are ferns, low and feathered, and silver with dew, spreading out toward the water in soft, uneven drifts. Mist lies over them in long ribbons, and the ribbons stir only when something large moves far away. Behind you the land rises into forest. Tall conifers stand in patient ranks, their trunks straight and dark, their crowns lost in the last of the night. The light has not reached them yet. It is reaching only the highest things first, the way it always does, gilding the tops of the trees and the distant shoulders of the hills while everything below stays soft and blue and unhurried. There is sound, though it is gentle. The river speaks to itself somewhere ahead, a low continuous murmur over stones worn smooth by 1,000 seasons of flow. Insects begin their morning, a faint dry hum that rises and falls without ever becoming loud. From the forest comes the occasional creak of a branch, the settling of something heavy that has slept all night and is only now deciding to wake. You are not cold. This is a warm world, a greenhouse world, and the night has held its heat close to the ground. Your skin feels the moisture in the air the way it might feel the steam from a kettle left to cool. Everything is soft at its edges. Nothing here is sharp. And out across the fern plain, where the mist is beginning to thin, something is moving. It is too far to see clearly, only a shape against the paling sky. A long, slow curve like the neck of a great bird lifted toward the light. It does not threaten you. It does not even know you are here. It is simply waking, as the whole world is waking, into another ordinary morning in a time before memory. Let your shoulders drop. Let the warmth settle over you. There is nowhere you need to be, and the morning will take as long as it needs to take. Stay a moment at the edge of the ferns, and let the old world come slowly into view. Tonight we are going to spend a long, slow while in the Jurassic. Not the Jurassic of loud films and sudden danger, but the real one, the lived-in one, the one that went on quietly for tens of millions of years while the sun rose and set over it the same as it rises and sets over you. It was a world of giants, yes. But giants spend most of their lives doing nothing dramatic at all. They graze, they drink, they stand in the warm shade and let the hours pass. And that is the world we are going to drift through together, one unhurried scene at a time. So let yourself arrive here properly. Wherever you are lying, let your body grow heavy against it. Let the day you have just finished begin to loosen its grip, thought by thought, the way a hand relaxes when sleep is near. You do not have to follow every word. You do not have to remember any of it. The words are only here to keep you gentle company while you let go, like the murmur of that river out across the ferns. The time is the late Jurassic, roughly 150 million years before the present. If you could stand on a high hill and look out over the whole planet, you would not recognize it. The great single continent that once held all the land together is breaking apart slowly with the patience that only stone possesses. New oceans are opening between the pieces. Warm, shallow seas are spilling across low ground that will one day be dry land again, and across that drowned ground, the water lies pale and calm and full of life. There is no ice anywhere. Not at the poles, not on the mountain tops. The world is warm from end to end, draped in green, and the air itself is rich and moist and easy to breathe. Where there is land, there is forest. And where there is forest, there are creatures larger than any that walk the earth in your own time. They have grown into the spaces the warmth allowed them to fill. They are the natural result of a generous world. You will not be in danger here. That is worth saying plainly, so that some watchful part of you can finally rest. You are a witness only, a quiet presence drifting through this ancient morning, unseen and untroubled. Nothing here can reach you. The teeth and the claws and the great crushing feet belong to a story that finished long ago, and you are only turning its pages now, slowly, by candlelight, while the rest of the house sleeps. We will move through this world the way you might move through a long, calm dream. We will follow the long-necked giants across their fern prairies. We will sit beside the river while the fish lizards roll in the warm shallows of the sea. We will walk into the cathedral quiet of the Conifer forest, where the light falls in soft green columns and the smallest creatures live their hidden lives beneath the feet of the largest. We will watch the day grow warm and golden, and then we will watch it cool, and the long Jurassic dusk will come down over everything, and the stars will come out over a world that has never seen a human face. There is no plot to keep hold of. There is no puzzle to solve. There is only a world to be in, and time to be in it, and the slow turning of one ancient day into one ancient night. If your attention wanders, let it wander. If your eyes are already heavy, let them close. The Jurassic does not mind. It has waited 150 million years. It can wait while you fall asleep. There is nothing here that wants anything from you. That is the first thing to understand, and the most important, and once you have let it sink all the way down into you, the rest will follow of its own accord. The giants do not know you are here. The hunters cannot reach you. The whole vast, warm green world you are about to walk through moves entirely without reference to you, and asks nothing, and expects nothing, and will let you drift through it as quietly and as weightlessly as a thought drifts through a sleeping mind. You are a witness here, and nothing more, unseen, untouchable, perfectly safe, free to wander wherever the gentle current of the story carries you, and free, at any moment, simply to close your eyes and sink the rest of the way down into sleep. So let your body grow heavy where it lies. Let the bed take your full weight, all of it, every last ounce, the way the warm earth takes the weight of the sleeping giants. Let your shoulders ease down and your jaw unclench and the small muscles around your eyes go soft and still. There is a long, slow journey ahead of you tonight, from the first grey light of a Jurassic dawn through all the gold hours of its day to the deep, starlit quiet of its night, and you need carry nothing on it, and you need stay awake for none of it. Drift as far along it as you like, and when the warm dark rises up to meet you, as it surely will, let go and let it close over you, and sleep. So settle in, let the warm air hold you. Out across the ferns, the mist is lifting now, and the shapes that move within it are becoming clearer, and the first full light of morning is about to touch the lowland where the great ones graze. Let us go down and meet them, slowly, with nothing to fear and nowhere to be. If you enjoy listening to sleepy prehistoric dinosaur stories like this, subscribe. I post stories like this weekly. The light comes to the lowland slowly, the way warmth comes back into cold hands. First it touches only the tops of the conifers behind you, turning them from black to deep green to a green so soft it seems lit from within. Then it slides down the trunks, unhurried, finding the lower branches, the hanging strands of moss, the pale undersides of the fern fronds that crowd the forest edge. By the time it reaches the floor of the plain, the mist has already begun to surrender, lifting in lazy sheets that thin and tear and drift away over the water. You stay where you are, at the boundary between forest and open ground, and you let the morning assemble itself around you. There is no single moment when night becomes day here. It is all gradual. The blue drains slowly out of the air and the gold seeps slowly in, and somewhere in the long blending of the two, the birds that are not quite birds yet begin to call from the high branches, small and sleepy, testing their voices against the new light. The ferns are heavy with dew. Each frond holds its own small store of water, and as the air warms, the droplets begin to slide and gather and fall, so that the whole plain makes a faint continuous ticking, a sound almost too soft to notice, like rain that has already stopped but has not quite finished falling. Where the light strikes the droplets, they flash once and are gone. The plain seems to be quietly putting out 1,000 small fires. Underfoot the ground is soft, layered with the fallen growth of seasons, spongy and dark and giving. This is rich earth. The warmth and the wet have been working on it for a long time, breaking the dead growth down into something deep and fertile, and the whole lowland smells of that slow, patient rot, the good smell of a forest floor, of mushrooms and wet wood and green things growing over the bones of green things that grew before them. Out across the open ground, the great shapes are clearer now. There are perhaps a dozen of them, spread loosely across the fern prairie, and even at this distance their size is difficult to hold in the mind. They are long-necked giants, the largest creatures that have ever lived on land, and they move through the morning with a slowness so complete that it is almost a kind of stillness, a neck lifts, a neck lowers, a great body shifts its weight from one column of a leg to another. That is all. That is the whole of their hurry. They are not running from anything. They are not chasing anything. They have woken where they slept, standing, as such enormous animals must, because a body that size cannot lie down and rise again without effort and risk. So they passed the night on their feet, half dreaming, swaying gently, and now they are simply continuing, picking up the long business of the day where the dusk left it off. The nearest of them turns its head toward the river, and you watch the neck unfold. It is a slow architecture, the lengthening of that neck, vertebra by vertebra, each one hollowed and lightened inside, so that the whole long span can be lifted without the muscles tearing themselves apart. From the side it looks effortless. It looks like a crane swinging, like a branch bending in a wind too slow to feel. But there is great engineering hidden inside that ease, a lifetime of it, generations of it, and the animal carries it without a thought. The herd makes very little noise. There is the soft crush of ferns beneath their feet, a sound like someone walking through deep snow. There is the occasional low call, a sound felt almost more than heard, a deep rolling note that travels through the ground as much as through the air. And there is the steady tearing of vegetation, gentle and rhythmic, as the great mouths strip the fronds from the stems and the long necks ferry the green down into bodies the size of houses. You find that your breathing has slowed to match them. It happens without your deciding it. There is something in the rhythm of these animals, the unhurried lift and fall, the patient grazing, that reaches into you and smooths you out. The morning is long, the plain is wide, the food is everywhere, soft and abundant, and nothing in this scene is in any kind of rush to be anywhere other than where it already is. The sun clears the far hills at last, and the whole plain changes colour. What was silver becomes gold. The dew that remains catches fire briefly and then dries, and the mist that was hiding the distance burns away, and you can see now how far the lowland runs, mile upon mile of fern and reed and standing water, threaded everywhere by the bright wandering channels of the river. It is a generous country. It looks like it could feed the whole world. Along the edges of the water, other shapes are stirring. Smaller dinosaurs, two-legged and quick, move along the banks in loose groups, dipping their heads to drink, and lifting them to look around with the bright, nervous alertness of animals that know they are not the largest things here. They keep to the shallows and the open ground where they can see what is coming. They drink and watch and drink again, and the morning holds them gently, the same as it holds everything else. The temperature is climbing. You can feel it on your face, the soft pressure of a sun that has nothing to compete with, no cold to push back against, only the warm, willing air. By midday it will be hot here, hot enough to drive the smaller creatures into shade, but for now it is only pleasant, only the comfortable warmth of a long summer morning that has no intention of ending soon. One of the giants begins, very slowly, to walk. It chooses a direction the way a cloud chooses a direction, with no visible decision, and it sets one tremendous foot ahead of the other, and the ground takes the weight and gives it back. Each footfall sends a faint shiver through the plain, felt in the soles of your feet, in the trembling of the fern tips, in the small rings that spread across the still pools where the water has gathered. The whole world registers the passage of such an animal, quietly, the way a still room registers a door opening somewhere far off. The rest of the herd notices, in its slow way, and begins to drift after the first. They are not a tight group. They are spread across hundreds of yards, and the gaps between them stay loose and easy, but there is a togetherness to them all the same, a shared direction that emerges without any of them seeming to lead. They are going toward the wider water, where the ferns grow tallest and the morning's grazing is best, and they will be most of the day getting there. You could follow them. You will, in time. But for now it is enough to stand and watch them go, the long necks rising above the fern line like the masts of slow ships, the great bodies rolling gently with each step, the whole patient procession moving across the gold of the plain toward the brighter gold of the water. There is no scene more peaceful in all of this old world than a herd of giants walking nowhere in particular on a warm and ordinary morning. The smaller creatures part to let them through. They have learned the simple arithmetic of size, and they step aside long before the giants reach them, not in fear exactly, but in the ordinary courtesy of animals that share a country. The little ones flow around the big ones like water around the legs of someone wading, and then they close back together behind them and return to their drinking, and the river goes on murmuring, and the insects go on humming, and the day goes on opening like a slow flower. Above it all, the sky has turned a pale and tender blue, almost white near the horizon, deepening overhead. A few high clouds drift across it, thin and unhurried, their shadows sliding over the plain in great soft patches that cool the ferns for a moment and then move on. The giants walk in and out of the shade without noticing. Light, shadow, light again. The day handles them gently, and they pay it no mind at all. There is a smell of water now, carried on the warming air, a green wet mineral smell that gets stronger as the herd nears the river. It is the smell of mud and reed and slow current, of fish and algae and the cool dark places under the banks. It mingles with the resin of the forest behind you and the rot of the rich earth below, and the dust that the great feet raise, and together they make the particular smell of this place, this morning, this world, a smell you would know again anywhere, if you could carry it with you out of sleep. You begin to walk, finally, down off the forest edge and out onto the open plain, following the herd at a great and comfortable distance. The ferns brush against you, cool and wet and soft, soaking the lower air with their green scent. The ground gives under each step. Somewhere ahead the giants tear and swallow and walk, tear and swallow and walk, and the rhythm of it pulls you along as gently as a current pulls a leaf. The light grows, the warmth grows, the plain unrolls ahead of you, fern and water and far blue hills, and the slow shapes of the giants lead you on toward the heart of the morning. There is no destination that matters. There is only the going and the warmth and the soft tireless rhythm of an old world waking into another of its countless gentle days. The mist does not lift all at once. It thins in slow drifts, the way breath fades from a cold window, and as it goes the world arrives in pieces. First the nearest ferns, beaded silver with the night's dew, each frond bowed under its small weight of water. Then the dark line of the river beyond them, moving without sound. Then, far out across the lowland, the long grey shapes of the giants, still half dissolved in vapour, more like the memory of animals than animals themselves. You stand at the edge of the ferns and let your eyes adjust, and there is nothing in you that needs to hurry the seeing. The light will come. It always comes. You have only to wait for it, here in the cool and the quiet, and let the morning assemble itself around you one soft shape at a time. The air is cool against your skin, cooler than it will be in an hour, carrying the green wet smell of the floodplain at dawn, the smell of crushed fern and river mud, and the faint resin breath of the conifers on the higher ground. You draw it in slowly. It is clean in a way no air you have ever breathed is clean, an air with no smoke in it, no metal, no distant engines, nothing but water and growing things, and the cold mineral scent of the earth itself. Somewhere, a single drop falls from a high frond and strikes a broad leaf below with a small clear note, and then silence again, and then another drop, the slow, unhurried percussion of the dew letting go. A sound reaches you across the ferns, low and long, more a vibration in the ground than a noise in the air. It is one of the giants, calling softly to the others, a deep rolling note that seems to come from somewhere beneath hearing, and you feel it in the soles of your feet before you understand it as sound. Another answers, farther off, and then the herd is murmuring among itself in those low earth-deep voices, a slow conversation with no urgency in it, the unhurried morning talk of enormous and peaceable animals. You could not say what they are telling one another, perhaps only this, that the night is over, that the light is coming, that all is well, that all is well. You begin to walk toward them through the wet ferns, and the cold dew soaks your feet and ankles, and you do not mind. The ground is soft here, sponged with old fallen growth, and it gives a little under each step, so that walking feels almost like wading, almost like floating. The giants grow clearer with every step you take. Their grey becomes green-grey, then brown-grey, then the true colour of their hides, weathered and patient as old bark. They do not look up at your coming. Nothing here fears you. You move among the waking shapes of the morning like a thing the world has always known, and the only question left in you is a gentle one, drifting up without weight. How? How could anything ever come to be so large? And as you walk, you begin to wonder how a creature could ever grow so large, how a living body could reach the size of these long-necked giants without simply collapsing under its own weight. The answer is out there ahead of you, moving across the ferns. It is worth coming closer to see. There is no hurry, of course. There never is here. But the giants are waiting, in their slow, unknowing way, and the morning is only beginning, and the whole long day lies open and warm before you both. You come close enough now to understand them, and understanding changes nothing about how strange they are. The nearest giant stands perhaps as tall at the hip as a house is tall at the eaves, and from that great living wall of a body the neck climbs upward and outward, longer than the trunk of any tree you have ever stood beneath. The head at the end of it is almost comically small, a blunt, gentle wedge with soft dark eyes, and it moves through the high air with the slow grace of something underwater. This is a sauropod, one of the long-necked browsers that ruled the floodplains of the Jurassic for tens of millions of years. There were many kinds of them, some built tall and upright to reach the highest crowns, some built low and broad to sweep the ferns at ground level. The ones around you now carry their necks out almost level with the ground, swinging them in slow arcs from side to side, harvesting an enormous fan of vegetation without ever moving their heavy feet. They are not climbers reaching up, they are mowers reaching out, and the reach is everything. It is the neck that lets them be so large. Think of how much food a body this size must take in every single day, simply to keep itself alive. If the animal had to walk to each mouthful, it would spend more energy gathering its food than the food could ever give back. So instead it stands in one place, plants its columns of legs in the soft ground, and lets the long neck do the travelling. A single step might bring 100 new mouthfuls within reach. The whole design is an answer to a single, quiet question. How do you feed something this big without exhausting it? The neck is the answer, swinging slow across the ferns. Inside that neck is a marvel of careful lightness. The bones are not solid. If they were, no muscle could lift them. Instead, each vertebra is hollowed and chambered, riddled with air spaces, scooped out wherever the weight is not needed and left strong wherever it is. The neck is built the way a great bridge is built, all struts and arches and empty span, carrying its load with the least possible material. The animal does not know this. It simply lifts its head, and the engineering holds, as it has held for the whole long line of its ancestors. You watch one of them feed, and the slowness of it is almost hypnotic. The head dips into a stand of tall ferns. The jaws are simple, lined with peg-like teeth that are not made for chewing, only for stripping, raking the green from the stems in a single backward pull. A mouthful comes free. The head lifts. The long throat works, and the food begins its slow journey down the neck and into the vast machinery of the body, and the head is already dipping again toward the next stand of ferns. There is a rhythm to it, even and tireless, that could go on all day, and will. The animal does not chew. It has no time to chew, and no teeth fit for it, and no need. Instead, the grinding happens deep inside, in a great muscular chamber where swallowed stones do the work that teeth would do in a smaller creature. The giant gathers these stones from the riverbed, smooth and rounded, and they ride inside it for years, tumbling against the swallowed ferns, breaking them down into pulp that the slow inner fires can finally turn into the energy that holds this whole tower of life upright. Somewhere within the animal beside you, that quiet milling is happening even now, stones turning in the dark, patient as a river. The body is a furnace that never goes out. So much living tissue, packed so tightly together, generates a warmth of its own simply by existing, and that warmth is slow to gather and slow to fade. A creature this large stays warm through the cool of the night without ever needing to bask, and stays cool enough through the heat of the day without ever needing to hide, simply because its sheer size smooths out every change. It is too big to be rushed by the weather. The day may swing from cool to hot and back again, but deep inside the giant the temperature barely stirs, held steady by the enormous gentle inertia of all that flesh. There are young ones among the herd, and they are the only members of it that move with any quickness. A juvenile sauropod, no larger than a horse, trots between the legs of the adults with a lightness the grown ones have long since lost. It is all neck and tail and bright curiosity, and it has not yet learned the deep patience that great size will eventually teach it. For now it hurries, because it still can, weaving through the forest of legs, snatching at the tenderest ferns, keeping always within the sheltering shadow of the adults. The grown ones tolerate the young with a vast indifference that is, in its own way, a kind of care. They do not nuzzle or fuss. They simply are present, simply continue to be enormous, and their enormousness is itself the protection. Nothing that hunts on this plain would dare to come among the legs of the adult herd, and so the space beneath the giants is the safest place in the whole lowland, a moving sanctuary of shadow and slow columns, and the young ones stay within it because something old and wise in them already knows that they should. You move through the herd now, unseen, and the scale of it folds over you. To stand beneath one of these animals is to stand beneath a living ceiling. The belly hangs above you like the hull of a beached ship. The legs rise on either side, broad as old tree trunks, the feet spreading at the bottom into soft, thick pads that cushion each step and spread the unimaginable weight across the yielding ground. Where a foot is lifted, it leaves a print deep enough to bathe in, already filling with dark water, already gathering its own small population of insects come to drink. The skin of the giant is not smooth. Up close it is a fine mosaic of small scales, pebbled and dry and warm, creased into deep folds at the joints where the great limbs bend. Here and there it carries the marks of a long life, old scars healed pale, patches worn rough by years of weather. Along the spine of some of them runs a low row of soft spines, or a ridge of tougher hide. No defence really, only an ornament, the kind of small flourish that life adds to itself for no reason you could name. You could reach up and lay your hand against that warm pebbled flank, if this were the kind of dream where touch were allowed, and feel the slow tide of the breathing within, for the breathing is the most astonishing thing of all. A body this size must move a great ocean of air with every breath, and it does so without effort, the vast ribcage rising and falling in long, slow swells. The lungs inside are not simple bags. They are joined to a network of air sacs that reach throughout the body, even into the hollows of the bones, so that fresh air flows through the animal in one smooth, continuous direction, in through the breath and out through the breath alike, wringing every last trace of life from the air. It is the most efficient breathing that any large animal has ever evolved, and it makes no sound at all but a deep, soft sigh, in and out, like a tide that never turns. Stand here long enough beneath the slow tide of that breathing, and you will feel your own breath lengthen to meet it. In, hold, out. The giant does not know you are matching it. It only goes on being alive, hugely and quietly, while the morning warms around it and the ferns whisper against its legs, and the young one trots a wide, curious circle and comes trotting back. There is a deep settledness in the company of such an animal, a sense that whatever else may be happening in the world, here at least nothing has changed in 100 million years, and nothing needs to. The herd drifts as it feeds, and you drift with it, out across the widening plain toward the brighter ground near the water. The necks rise and dip around you like the slow arms of some patient machine. The deep calls roll between them, felt in the chest, a language of rumbles too low to fully hear, by which the giants keep loose track of one another across the open ground. You do not need to understand it. It is enough to be inside it, surrounded by that gentle subsonic conversation, carried along in the warm middle of the herd. A breeze moves across the plain and bends the tops of the ferns all in one direction, a long silver ripple that travels away toward the river and is gone. The giants lift their heads as it passes, tasting it, reading whatever is written on it, and then lower them again, unconcerned. The breeze carries the smell of water and reed and warm mud, and behind that, faintly, the smell of the forest, and behind that, fainter still, something else, something the giants note and dismiss, the far-off smell of an animal that hunts. But it is far off. It is not the business of this gentle morning. The herd feeds on, the sun is higher now, and the warmth has become a presence you can lean into. The dew is long gone, the plain has dried to a soft gold, and the dust rises in faint veils where the great feet pass, hanging golden in the slanting light before it settles again. The young one has tired itself and walks now between two adults with its small head drooping, and you understand, watching it, that even here in this world of ceaseless gentle motion there is rest. There is the slowing down, there is the heaviness that comes over a creature when the morning has gone on long enough. You feel it too, that heaviness, the good kind, the kind that asks nothing of you but to give in to it. The herd moves slower as the heat climbs, The grazing grows lazy. The giants begin to seek out the scattered groves that stand here and there across the plain, the islands of taller trees that throw real shade, and they gather their slow bodies toward them with the unspoken agreement of animals who have done this on 10,000 mornings before. And as they go, the sound of the river grows. It has been there all along, beneath everything, the low steady voice of moving water. But now, as the herd nears the bank, it rises and clarifies, becomes a music of its own, the chuckle of current over stone, the soft slap of water against root and mud. The river is the great artery of this whole country. Everything comes to it eventually. And there is a life along its edges that you have not yet seen, a slower, stranger, half-submerged life, waiting in the warm shallows where the giants will soon come down to drink. Stand close beneath one of them now, close enough to lay a hand against the warm, slow flank, and listen. There is sound inside this animal, a whole weather of sound. Far up, where the small head sways among the branches, you can hear the soft tearing of leaves and the wet click of the simple teeth raking them free. Lower down, in the vast barrel of the body, there is a deeper music. The long rolling gurgle of the great fermenting gut, where whole forests are slowly becoming the animal, a sound like distant thunder heard through water, ceaseless and unbothered and strangely soothing. And beneath even that, if you press your ear to the warm hide and wait, you can feel the slow, enormous drum of the heart beating once, and then, after a patient while, once more. The herd moves as a single slow intention across the plain. The great ones on the outside, the half-grown ones within, and at the very centre, sheltered on every side by walls of living flesh. The young ones, no larger than horses, which is to say still larger than almost anything else alive. They keep close to the legs of their mothers, in the shade those legs throw down, and when the herd drifts a little, they drift with it, never straying past the protecting circle. There is no hurry in any of it. The whole mass of them shifts across the ferns at the pace of a slow tide coming in, a few yards in an hour, grazing as they go, and to stand among them is to feel time itself slow down to match their patience. One of the giants, near you, stops feeding and simply stands. Its long neck, which has been swaying high among the branches, comes slowly down through the layers of morning light, until the small head hangs at the level of your own, an arm's length away. The eye regards you. It is large and dark and liquid, fringed with a sweep of lashes against the dust, and there is no fear in it and no anger, only a deep, mild animal calm, the calm of a creature that has never in its long life had cause to be afraid. It blinks, slowly, a slow drawing of the lid across that dark, wet world, and then it lifts its head again, unhurried, back up into the branches, and goes on with the endless, gentle business of the morning. You walk on among them as the sun climbs, and the rhythm of the herd gets into your body. Step and pause and graze and step. The slow sway of the necks, the deep tidal breathing of the flanks, the endless soft tearing of the leaves and the deep gut thunder rolling beneath. It is a rhythm, with no edges in it, nothing sharp, nothing sudden, a rhythm built for an animal that will live 100 years and is in no hurry about any of them. And as you walk, your own breathing begins, without your deciding it, to slow and deepen to match theirs, in and out, long and slow, the way the great chests rise and fall around you, until you can hardly tell your own slow breath from the breathing of the giants, from the breathing of the whole warm, patient morning. The herd lifts its many heads toward the gleam of the water, and turns, and begins the long, slow descent toward the river. Follow them down. The bank is soft, and the shade is cool, and the morning is not yet half spent, and there is something waiting at the water's edge, patient and ancient, that has been there since long before the giants, and will be there long after. It means you no harm, almost nothing here does, but it is worth meeting all the same. Come down to the river, slowly, and see. The river here is wide and shallow and slow. It has come down out of the distant hills in a hurry, foaming over rocks, cutting its banks. But by the time it reaches the lowland it has spent that hurry, and it spreads out across the flat country in 100 lazy braided channels, sliding between long islands of reed and silt. The water is warm and the colour of weak tea, stained brown by the leaf litter it has carried, and it moves so gently in places that you could believe it had stopped entirely. The giants come down to it in single file, choosing the firm ground, testing the bank with each great foot before they trust it with their weight. At the water's edge, they spread out along the shallows and lower their long necks, and the small heads dip to the surface, and they drink. It takes a long time for an animal that size to drink its fill. The water travels up the long throat in slow swallows, and the river dimples and ripples where the muzzles break it, and the giants stand half-lit in the brown shallows with the reflected sky breaking and reforming around their legs. Out in the deeper channels, the fish move. You can see them when the light is right, dark shapes sliding beneath the surface, some no longer than your hand, and some longer than you are tall. They gather where the current slows, holding themselves against it with the smallest movements of their fins, mouths working, gills working, patient as everything else here is patient. Now and then one rolls near the surface and shows a flash of pale belly, and the ring of its turning spreads outward and fades, and the river closes over it again. Along a low mud bank in the full sun, the Crocodile-Kin are basking. They are not so different from the crocodiles of your own world, low and long and armoured, but they are older than those, an earlier draft of the same patient idea. They lie utterly still, jaws slightly parted, soaking the warmth into their cold blood, and they look like nothing so much as fallen logs, grey-green and ridged and motionless. A small one rests its chin on the back of a larger one. None of them stir as the giants drink a stone's throw away. There is an old truce here, written in size. The giants are too large to fear and too large to be food, and so the two kinds of creature share the riverbank in complete unbothered indifference. A dragonfly passes, and your eye follows it without meaning to. It is large, larger than any dragonfly of your own time, its wings a hand-span across, glittering as they catch the sun. It hangs in the warm air above the reeds, darting, hovering, darting again, hunting the smaller insects that rise off the water in faint clouds. Its flight is all sudden stops and sideways slips, and yet it never seems hurried, only precise, a small, bright machine of the air going about its bright small business above the slow brown river. The reeds along the bank are tall and green and full of hidden life. Things move within them that you never quite see, small rustlings and partings of the stems, the brief silver of a fish darting through a flooded channel, the plop of something dropping from a leaf into the water. A long-legged creature stalks the shallows on the far bank, lifting each foot high and setting it down without a ripple, watching the water with the fixed attention of a hunter that lives by stillness. It is not a bird, not quite, but it is doing what the herons of later worlds will do, standing and watching and waiting for the water to bring it a meal. The mud at the river's edge holds the story of everyone who has come to drink. Great round prints of the giants, deep and water-filled, the narrow tracks of the two-legged dinosaurs that came at dawn, the dragging trail of a crocodile-kin hauling itself up to bask, the neat punctuation of small feet, lizard and insect and creatures with no name, written and overwritten in the soft brown clay. The mud remembers everything for a little while, and then the sun bakes it, or the river rises and smooths it clean, and the remembering starts again. You sit at the water's edge, on a dry hummock of reed, and let the river hold your attention the way running water always does. There is something in it that quiets the mind beneath thought. The light moving on the surface, the small, endless variations of the current, the way it folds around a stone, the way it carries a fallen leaf in a slow spiral and then releases it and carries it on. The brown water slides past and past and past, never the same water twice, always the same river, and watching it you feel your own thoughts begin to slide past in the same way, arriving and departing. None of them important, all of them carried gently downstream and gone. One of the giants has finished drinking and stands now belly deep in a wide pool, simply resting, letting the cool water take some of the weight off its legs. It half closes its eyes. The water laps against its sides. Small fish gather around its submerged feet, picking at whatever the great animal has stirred up from the bottom, and the giant lets them, indifferent to their tiny attentions, lost in the bovine contentment of standing cool in warm water on a hot morning. You understand the feeling exactly. There is nothing better, on a day like this, than to be still in cool water and ask for nothing more. Above the river, the air has begun to move with wings. The fishing fliers have come, the leather-winged ones, and they patrol the channels on long, narrow wings, tilting and gliding, their long beaks held ready. One drops suddenly toward the surface, skims it, and rises again with a small fish flashing in its jaws, and the whole movement is so smooth and so quiet that the river barely notices. The flyer carries its catch to a dead snag leaning out over the water and settles there to swallow it, folding its great wings down against its body like a person folding an umbrella, and from a distance it looks almost thoughtful, perched and digesting in the sun. These flyers are not birds, though they have taken the bird's place in the sky. They are reptiles that learned the air long ago, and their wings are not feathered but made of skin, a living membrane stretched between an enormously lengthened finger and the side of the body. When one passes close overhead, you can see the light shining through that membrane, can see the fine lines of the bones and the vessels within it, can see how thin and how strong it is, how perfectly shaped for the slow, warm air above the water. They ride the rising heat the way a leaf rides a current, hardly beating their wings at all, simply tilting, simply being carried. The morning deepens toward midday, and the heat lies heavy on the river now. The basking Crocodile-Kin open their jaws wider to let it out, panting in their cold-blooded way. The dragonflies retreat into the shade of the reeds. Even the fish sink lower, seeking the cooler water near the bottom, and the surface of the river grows still and glassy and bright. The giants stand drowsing in the shallows, and the whole scene slows almost to stopping, held in the thick golden trance of a hot day at the height of its heat. You feel that trance settle over you as well. The warmth presses down, gentle and enormous, and your eyelids grow heavy and the sounds of the river soften and blur. The chuckle of the current, the drone of an insect somewhere close, the occasional deep sigh of a giant breathing, the small slap of a fish. These sounds come and go and weave together, and none of them asks anything of you, and under their soft weight you feel yourself sinking, the way the fish sink, towards something cool and dark and restful at the bottom of the day. A turtle, ancient even by the standards of this ancient place, hauls itself up onto a half-submerged log to bask beside the Crocodile-Kin. It moves with the slowness of a thing that has all the time in the world and knows it. Its shell is domed and dark and patterned with the soft growth of the river, and when it has arranged itself to its satisfaction, it draws its head halfway into its shell and goes utterly still, just another stone in a river full of stones, content to do nothing under the sun for as long as the sun should care to shine. The river forgets its hurry here, and so does everything that lives along it. There is no urgency in the warm shallows. The current is slow, the food is near, the danger is distant, and the day is long. The giants drink and rest, the fish hold their places, the flyers ride the warm air, the Crocodile-Kin lie like fallen logs, dreaming whatever cold, slow dreams such creatures dream, and the river slides past it all, patient and brown and endless, carrying the morning away downstream and bringing the afternoon up behind it, in no hurry at all to reach the sea. After a long while one of the giants stirs, and lifts its dripping neck from the pool, and begins to wade slowly back toward the bank. The others follow, in their loose and unhurried way, and the herd reassembles on the firm ground above the water, shaking off the river, the cool drops scattering from their flanks. They have drunk and rested. Now the heat is driving them to look for the deeper shade, the real shade, the green and ancient dark of the forest that stands along the far side of the plain. Down at the river's edge the world changes its texture. The ferns give way to a margin of soft grey mud, cool and yielding underfoot, printed all over with the comings and goings of the night, the broad three-toed stars of the giants, the neat trails of small scurrying things, the long drag marks where something heavy has hauled itself up out of the water to bask and then slipped back. The water itself is brown and slow and clear, sliding past without a sound, and where it shallows over gravel, it gathers the light into long wavering ribbons that climb the far bank and ripple there among the reeds. You crouch at the margin and trail your fingers in the cool current, and it pulls at them, gently, going somewhere, in no particular hurry to arrive. On a half-sunk log along the bank lies one of the river's old residents, a long-armoured shape with a flat-toothed snout, kin to the crocodiles that will still be basking on logs 100 million years from now, when everything else here is gone. It lies utterly still in the climbing sun, mouth a little open, soaking the warmth into its cold, patient blood, and it watches the water with one gold, unblinking eye. It is a hunter in its slow way, but it is not hunting now. It is only warming, only waiting, only being, the way the rock is being, the way the river is being. You watch it for a long while, and it does not move at all, and there is a deep restfulness in its stillness that draws your own breathing down toward the slow and the calm. Above the water, the air is alive with wings. Dragonflies cruise the margins on stiff, glittering wings, larger than any dragonfly you have ever seen, hawking the clouds of small insects that rise from the reeds, and where they turn the sun catches them and they flash, copper and green and a blue like struck flame, before they slip back into the shade and are only shadows again. Clouds of mayflies hang in the slow air above the shallows, rising and falling, a soft, uncountable shimmer, each one living out its single day in this one warm patch of light above this one warm stretch of ancient river. They do not know they are brief. Nothing here knows anything but the warm now, the long now, the now that seems as if it could go on forever. Out in the slow brown current, the fish are rising. You see the rings spread first, soft circles opening on the smooth water and drifting downstream, and then a flank turns over near the surface and catches the light, a flash of silver and bronze in the brown, and is gone. The river is thick with them, with the long-bodied ancient fishes of this world, and they roll and rise and sip at the drifting insects all along the shallows, and each rise spreads its quiet circle, and the circles overlap and fade, and the surface heals itself smooth again, over and over, all down the warm length of the morning river. To watch it is to feel something in your chest unknot and let go, some held thing you did not know you were holding, drifting off downstream with the slow brown water, going somewhere, in no hurry at all to arrive. You rise from your hummock of reed and turn with them, away from the bright river and toward the dark line of the trees. The forest has been there all morning, patient at the edge of everything, and you have felt its cool breath now and then on the moving air. It is a different world from the open plain, older and stiller and stranger, and the giants are too large to enter its deepest parts. But you are not. You can go in where they cannot, into the green cathedral quiet beneath the conifers, where the light falls in soft columns and the smallest lives are lived. The trees are waiting. Walk toward them, slowly, and let the river fade behind you into its endless gentle murmur. The forest takes you in slowly. There is no hard edge to it, only a gradual thickening. The ferns growing taller, and the light growing dimmer, and the first great trunks rising around you one by one, until without quite noticing the change you are inside, and the open plain is only a brightness behind you, glimpsed between the trees. The air changes the moment you enter. It cools, it stills, it fills with the resinous breath of the conifers, sharp and clean and green, the smell of a forest that has stood unbroken for longer than any forest you have ever known. The trees are enormous. They are not the broad-leaved trees of later ages, for those have not been invented yet. There are no oaks here, no maples, no flowers of any kind. These are conifers, kin to the great pines and monkey puzzles and redwoods, and they rise around you in straight grey columns, branchless for much of their height, lifting their dark crowns far overhead into a canopy so dense that only a soft green twilight reaches the forest floor. To stand among them is to stand in a vast pillared hall, a cathedral grown rather than built, and the silence within it has the same weight as the silence of an empty church. The light that does come down is gentled by its long passage through the leaves. It falls in soft shafts where a gap allows it, slanting columns of pale gold full of slowly turning dust and the drift of small insects, and where the shafts touch the floor, they light a patch of fern or a fallen log or a spread of low green growth, and everything they touch seems for a moment to glow. Outside the shafts, the forest is dim and cool and blue-green, a place of soft shadow where the eye must learn to see slowly. Nothing here is bright. Nothing here is sudden. It is all hushed and dim and deep. Beneath the great conifers grow the lower plants, the ones that have made their peace with shade. There are cycads, squat and palm-like, their stiff dark fronds radiating from thick scaly trunks, ancient even now, survivors of older worlds. There are tree ferns, lifting their delicate crowns on slender trunks, their new fronds uncurling slowly from tight green spirals at the centre. And everywhere, carpeting the floor, the low ferns and the soft green mosses and the pale ghostly growths that live without sun, feeding on the slow rot of the fallen. It is a garden of green on green on green, every leaf a different shade, all of it dim and damp and still. The floor of the forest is deep and soft underfoot, layered with the fall of ages. Fronds and needles and bark and branch, dropped season after season, pressed down and broken down into a dark spongy mat that gives beneath each step and springs slowly back. Your feet make almost no sound on it. The whole forest seems designed for quiet, the soft floor swallowing footfalls, the dense canopy swallowing echoes, so that even the calls of distant creatures arrive here muffled and far away, as though heard through deep water or through sleep. A fallen giant lies across your path, one of the great conifers brought down at last by age or storm, its enormous trunk now a long mound furred over with moss and fern. It has been lying here a long time. The bark has loosened and fallen away in great curved plates, and the wood beneath has gone soft and dark, and into that softness a whole small world has moved. The log is riddled with the tunnels of insects. Fungi push out from its sides in pale shelves and brackets, ghostly white and tan and the deep red of old wine. Seedlings of the great trees have taken root along its length, a row of small green futures rising from the body of the fallen past. Nothing is wasted here. The forest eats its own dead, slowly, and turns them back into forest. You sit down upon the mossy log, and the forest closes around you, and you grow still enough to hear its quiet life. There is a constant soft sound, almost below hearing, the sound of a forest simply being alive, of sap rising, and leaves breathing, and 100 small creatures going about their hidden errands. A beetle the size of your thumb labours across the moss beside you, its shell a dull metallic green intent on some purpose of its own. A spindly thing on many legs flows over a root and is gone. High above, something moves through the canopy, setting the branches stirring, and a few dry needles come spiralling down through the slanted light and settle on the floor. The resin smell is everywhere, and it deepens the quiet. The great conifers bleed amber tears from every wound, slow golden drops that swell and harden in the cool air, sealing the broken places, defending the wood from rot and insect. Here and there, along a trunk, you can see these drops caught and frozen, glinting faintly in the dim light, and within some of them, if you look closely, you would find a small life caught forever, a midge, a spider, a single feather-light leaf, sealed in gold at the moment of its ending, to be carried down through 100 million years intact. The forest is making its own slow memory drop by drop and storing it in amber. Time moves differently in here. Out on the plain the day swung from cool to warm to hot, the light wheeling, the giants moving across the open ground. But beneath the canopy the light barely changes. The deep green twilight holds steady through the heat of noon, and the temperature stays even and cool, and there is no wind to stir the air. It is a held breath of a place, a long pause in the middle of the day, and entering it feels like stepping out of the current of time into a still pool at the side of the stream, where the hours gather and slow and seem to stop. Somewhere not far off, water is moving. A small stream threads through the forest, cold and clear, fed by springs deep in the hills, and you can hear it talking to itself among the roots and stones. You make your way toward it, slowly, picking between the cycads and the fallen logs, and you find it running shallow and bright through a bed of dark pebbles, the only quick and shining thing in all this dim green stillness. The water is cold enough to feel the chill rising off it. Ferns lean over it from both banks, their fronds trailing in the current. It is a small, perfect secret of a place, hidden deep in the heart of the forest, known to no giant, visited only by the small, and it is the small who own this forest. The giants cannot enter here. They are too large to pass between the close-grown trunks, too heavy for the soft uneven floor, too tall for the low canopy. The deep forest is closed to them, and so it belongs entirely to the creatures the giants never notice, the lizards and the insects and the small warm-blooded things that hide in the leaf litter and the hollow logs. Out on the plain, size is everything. In here, size is a barrier, and it is the tiny and the quick and the clever who inherit the green dark. You catch sight of one of them now, a small dinosaur no larger than a chicken, picking its way along the stream bank on quick light feet. It is a delicate thing, balanced on 2 slender legs, its long tail held out straight behind it for balance, its small head tilting this way and that with sharp, bright curiosity. It is hunting, in its small way, snapping up the insects that gather at the water, darting after a beetle, freezing, darting again. It is covered, you see, with surprise, not in scales but in a soft down, a fine fuzz of simple feathers that keeps the warmth close to its small body in the cool forest air. It does not fly. It does not even have proper wings, but it wears feathers all the same, for warmth, and perhaps for show, and in that small downy creature beside the cold stream something enormous is quietly beginning, though neither it nor you can see it yet. The feathered one drinks, dipping its head with quick, nervous motions, watching between each sip. Then it lifts its head, alert, having heard or felt something, and in an instant it is gone, flickering away into the ferns, so quickly that the eye can barely follow, leaving only a trembling frond to mark where it stood. The forest absorbs it without a trace. That is how the small survive here, by quickness, by stillness, by knowing the green dark so well that they can vanish into it between one breath and the next. You stay by the cold stream as the unseen afternoon wears on. The light shifts by slow degrees, the shafts of gold leaning further as the sun crosses the hidden sky, finding new patches of floor to illuminate, abandoning old ones to the shade. A fine mist begins to gather in the lowest hollows of the forest, where the cold air pools, drifting between the trunks in thin, pale veils. The resin smell deepens with the cooling. Far off, muffled by the trees, you hear the deep call of a giant out on the plain, lonely and immense, and then the forest swallows even that, and there is only the cold stream talking and the great trees standing and the green twilight holding its endless breath. There is a peace here that goes beyond the peace of the open plain. The plain is peaceful in its spaciousness, its warmth, its slow wandering herds, but the forest is peaceful in its enclosure, its dimness, its deep and ancient stillness. To be within it is to be held, sheltered, hidden, wrapped in green and shadow and the soft, endless sound of growing things. It is the peace of a deep wood at the close of day, the peace that draws the body down toward rest, and sitting here beside the cold, bright stream you feel that drawing, gentle and patient, pulling you towards sleep. Step in under the conifers, and the light changes, and the sound changes, and the very air changes against your skin. The brightness of the open plain becomes a green-gold dimness, the sun broken into long slanting shafts that lean down between the great trunks and pool on the forest floor in slow shifting coins of light. The heat of the morning is left behind at the forest's edge. In here it is cool and still and resin-scented, and your footsteps fall silent on a deep soft mattress of fallen needles, brown and fragrant, the slow accumulation of uncounted years. You stand among the columns of the trunks and look up, and the high green canopy sways far overhead, and the cathedral hush of the place settles over you like a hand laid gently on the crown of your head. The smell of the forest is the smell of resin, sharp and sweet and clean, the lifeblood of the great conifers seeping from 1,000 small wounds in their bark. Here and there it has run down a trunk and hardened into amber, smooth golden drops and runnels of it, catching what little light reaches them and holding it warm in their depths. In one such bead, no bigger than a tear, a small insect is caught and held, a midge of this ancient morning sealed forever in the gold, and it will lie here in the resin while the forest falls and the seas come and go, and the whole world is made over again and again, until some hand, 100 million years from now, turns it to the light and wonders at the tiny perfect creature sleeping in the stone. But that is far away. For now it is only a bright drop on a dark trunk, and the forest breathes its resin breath around you, and all is still. Among the conifers grow stranger plants, older even than the great trees, the cycads with their thick squat trunks and their crowns of stiff dark fronds spread out like the spokes of a wheel. They have stood in forests like this since long before the giants walked, since the world was younger and harder, and they have not troubled to change, for their slow patient design has outlasted every catastrophe the earth could throw at it. You rest your hand on the rough trunk of one, scaled like the foot of some great bird, and feel the slow, cool life in it. Nearby, a ginkgo lifts its fan-shaped leaves into a shaft of light, and the leaves stir faintly though there is no wind, and let go one golden fan that turns and turns as it falls and comes to rest without a sound upon the deep brown floor. Deeper in, the hush becomes almost total. The calls of the plain do not reach here. The only sounds are small and near, the creak of a high branch shifting its weight, the soft fall of a needle, the distant drum of something large moving slowly through the trees, felt more than heard. The light dims further as the canopy thickens overhead, and the air grows cooler and stiller and heavier with resin, and you find that you are walking more and more slowly, that you have almost stopped, that you are standing quite still in the green dimness, simply breathing, simply being held. There is a deep, old peace in the heart of the forest, the peace of a place that has kept its own slow time since before there were eyes to watch it, and it asks nothing of you but that you stand within it and grow as still and as quiet as the trees. But the forest floor is not as empty as it seems. Beneath the ferns, within the logs, under the deep soft litter, a whole hidden world is going about its business, a world of creatures so small and so secret that the giants will never know they exist. And it is into that small world that we will go next, down among the roots and the leaf litter, into the busy quiet beneath the cathedral floor, where the smallest lives of the Jurassic are lived out in the dark. Stay close to the cold stream a moment longer, and then we will go down, gently, into the world beneath the great feet. By the middle of the afternoon a change has come into the air, and you feel it before you understand it, the way the animals feel it, a softening, a heaviness, a sense of something gathering far off beyond the edge of the world. The light has thickened, the bright hard gold of noon has gone milky and dim, and the shadows beneath the ferns have lost their edges, and out across the plain the heat shimmer has died away into a flat, warm stillness. You stand in the strange new quiet and look toward the horizon, where the sky is no longer blue but a deep and bruised grey-violet, a great soft wall of cloud building slowly upward, and you know, without being told, that the rain is coming. The air goes very still. The fliers have come down out of the high sky and folded their wings along the cliffs. The giants have stopped their grazing and stand with their heads lifted, their long necks swaying gently, tasting the changed air. Even the small insects of the fern beds have hushed, and a deep waiting quiet lies over the whole wide plain, the held breath of a world that knows what is coming and is in no way afraid of it. There is nothing fearful in this gathering storm. It is a thing the world has done 10,000 times and will do 10,000 more, and every creature on the plain knows it in its blood and waits for it, calm and patient, the way you wait for a thing you have always known. A breath of cool air moves across the plain, the first you have felt all day, sliding down ahead of the storm, and it stirs the ferns and lifts the fine dust from the dry ground, and carries with it, faint and far, the clean grey smell of rain falling somewhere distant. The giants turn their great heads toward it. You turn toward it too, and breathe it in, that first cool breath of the coming weather, and something in your chest eases at the smell of it. Some old deep animal gladness at the promise of rain after the long heat of the day. The cool breath passes. The stillness returns, but the wall of cloud has climbed higher now, and across its dark face, far off and silent, a thread of pale light flickers once and is gone. Now you can see the rain itself, out across the plain, a great grey veil hanging down from the belly of the cloud, sweeping slowly toward you across the lowland. Where it passes, the world goes soft and grey and indistinct, the far ferns dissolving behind it, the distant giants becoming dim grey shapes, and then vanishing altogether into the moving curtain of the rain. It comes on without haste, a slow grey wall advancing across the land, and ahead of it runs that cool, clean breath, stronger now, steady, full of the smell of wet earth and falling water, and the light dims further as the great cloud climbs across the sun, and the whole plain holds its breath and waits to be washed, and then the first drops come. They are large and warm and slow, falling singly at first, striking the broad fern fronds with a soft heavy patter, one here, one there, raising small puffs of dust where they strike the dry ground. You feel them on your upturned face, warm as the air, fat and soft, breaking against your skin. The patter quickens. The single drops become a scattering, the scattering a steady fall, and the dust gives way to dark, wet earth, and the dry whisper of the ferns becomes a soft, wet drumming as the rain finds them, thousands upon thousands of warm drops falling on the broad green leaves, and the smell of it rises up all around you, the deep, rich smell of rain on warm earth, the oldest and best smell in all the world. The rain comes harder now, a warm, steady downpour drumming on the whole wide plain, and you stand in it and let it soak you through, and it is warm as bath water, and there is no chill in it anywhere. It runs down through your hair and over your face and along your arms, warm and clean, washing the dust and the heat of the long day away, and you tilt your face up into it and close your eyes and simply feel it fall. The sound of it is everywhere, a vast soft roar of water on leaves on earth, on the broad backs of the giants, on the slow brown river, a sound so steady and so full and so soft that it fills the whole world and leaves no room in it for any thought at all, only the falling, only the warm grey music of the rain. The giants stand easy in the downpour, untroubled, their great hides darkening and gleaming with the wet. They have lowered their long necks again and gone back to their grazing, cropping the rain-wet ferns as calmly as if the sky were clear, and the warm rain sheets off their broad flanks and runs down their legs in little streams and pools darkly around their great feet. The young ones, sheltered still within the circle of the herd, lift their small faces to the rain the way you have lifted yours, and you understand that they love it, that the warm rain is a gladness to them, a cool, clean joy after the heat, and that the whole herd stands content and easy in the falling water, washed and gleaming and calm. Along the forest edge, the rain finds the great conifers and drums on their high green crowns, and the sound there is deeper, a long, sustained, sighing roar, as the water sieves down through layer upon layer of needles, and the resin smell rises up sharp and sweet to mingle with the smell of the rain. Beneath the canopy the fall is gentler, broken and slowed by the branches, dripping down in 1,000 small streams and threads, and the forest floor that was dry and soft underfoot grows dark and rich and gleaming, and the deep mat of fallen needles drinks the water in. Here and there a runnel forms and finds its way downhill, threading between the great trunks, carrying away the day's heat toward the swelling river. And the river is rising. You walk down to its margin through the warm grey rain and find the slow brown water lifting, quickening, its surface dancing now with the falling drops, 10,000 small rings opening and overlapping and dissolving across the whole moving sheet of it. The mud of the bank glistens, the reeds bow under the weight of the wet. The river takes the rain into itself and swells and brightens and hurries a little faster toward the distant sea, and along its margins the small creatures of the bank have tucked themselves away into burrow and hollow, and the deep heart of the reed beds, waiting out the downpour in their warm dry dark, while the river sings past full and swift before them. There is a deep peace in standing within the rain like this, soaked and warm and easy, with the great soft roar of it filling all the world. It asks nothing of you. It falls on the just and the unjust alike, on the giant and the small mammal and the patient hunter in its dripping shade, on you, on everything, without judgment and without haste, washing the whole tired world clean. And there is a kind of permission in it, in the warm grey curtain that closes off the far horizons and draws the world in small and soft and near, a permission to stop, to wait, to do nothing at all but stand in the falling water and let it wash the day away, for nothing can be done while the rain falls, and nothing needs to be. Slowly, by degrees, the downpour eases. The great soft roar gentles to a steady patter, and the patter to a soft irregular drip, and the grey veil thins and lifts, and the far edges of the plain swim back into view, washed and gleaming and impossibly green. The cloud is moving on, dragging its grey skirts of rain away across the far lowland, and behind it the sky is clearing to a pale washed blue, and a long shaft of late sun breaks suddenly through and lays itself golden across the wet and shining world. Everything drips. Everything glistens. The whole plain steams faintly in the returning warmth, a low soft mist of risen water hanging silver above the ferns, lit gold by the slanting sun. And there, against the dark retreating cloud, the light bends itself into colour, and a great arch of soft-banded light stands up across the eastern sky, red shading to gold, shading to green, shading to a blue, so deep it melts back into the violet of the cloud. The giants stand beneath it, wet and gleaming and unknowing, grazing the rain-fresh ferns in the golden light, and the rainbow arches over the whole peaceable scene, over the herd and the river and the steaming plain, a thing of pure colour and no substance, hanging silent in the washed air, and you stand and watch it slowly brighten and slowly fade as the last of the rain drifts away to the east. The air after the rain is the sweetest of the whole long day. It is cool and clean and full of the smell of wet earth and crushed green fern and the resin breath of the dripping forest, and it moves softly across the plain, stirring the silver mist, carrying the small returning sounds of a world coming back to life. The insects begin again their fine high singing in the fern beds. A flyer launches from the distant cliff and beats up into the clearing sky to dry its wings in the late sun. The small creatures of the bank come creeping out from their burrows to drink at the brimming river. And over all of it the golden light lies thick and slow, the long rich light of a late afternoon washed new by rain. You walk back up from the river through the steaming ferns, soaked and warm and emptied of every care, and the cool sweet air fills your lungs, and the gold light lies all around you, and the great washed world drips and glistens and steams in the lowering sun. There is a lightness in you now that was not there before the rain, as though the warm water that washed the dust from your skin washed something from the inside of you too, some accumulated weight of the long bright day, and carried it off down the swelling river toward the sea. You feel clean, you feel light, you feel held in the soft gold afterglow of the storm as a leaf is held in slow water, going nowhere, needing nothing, perfectly at ease. The giants are moving again now, slowly, the way they always move, drifting on across the rain-fresh plain toward the lower ground where the wide water lies, and you find yourself drawn along in their unhurried wake, curious, unhurried, content to follow, for there is a place ahead, down where the land flattens and the river spreads, where the rain that has fallen across the whole high country gathers itself at last into a broad still lake, and in the cool, clean hour after the storm the creatures of the plain are converging there, from every direction, drawn by the water, gathering quietly at the wide, bright margin in the gold of the late afternoon. The rain has its own deep music, and if you listen to nothing else you may listen to that, and it will carry you. There is the high soft hiss of it on the distant ferns, and the heavier patter of the fat drops on the broad leaves near at hand, and the deep sustained roar of it seething down through the high forest, and the bright busy stipple of it on the surface of the river and the lake, and beneath all of these the long low sigh of the whole wet world drinking. It rises and falls as the squalls move through, swelling to a roar and gentling to a murmur, and swelling again, an endless soft variation on a single theme, water falling on a waiting world, and there is no thought that can hold itself together for long against that sound, and no tension that does not slowly dissolve in it, and no waking mind that does not, in the end, grow drowsy listening. Let the rain go on its way to the east. Let the rainbow fade and the mist lift and the gold light deepen toward evening. You are washed clean, and you are light, and there is somewhere gentle to go, no farther than the giants are going, at no greater pace than their slow drifting walk. Follow them down toward the gleaming water through the steaming ferns, in the sweet cool air, in no hurry at all, and we will come together to the wide lake, where the great peaceable gathering of the plain is even now assembling at the water's edge, in the long calm hour after the rain. Come down now, lower than you have been, lower than the giants, lower than the ferns, down to the level of the forest floor itself, where the world is measured not in tree heights but in leaf widths, and the great events of the day are the falling of a needle, the trickle of a dewdrop, the slow opening of a fungus through the dark. Down here the canopy is a distant green sky, and the fallen logs are mountain ranges, and the creatures that live their whole lives within a few square yards of damp earth would no more comprehend a giant than you could comprehend a cloud. In a hollow beneath the roots of a great conifer, where the earth is dry and dark and lined with shredded fern, a small warm creature sleeps. It is no larger than a mouse. Its fur is soft and dense, its eyes are large and closed, its tiny paws are curled beneath its chin, and its breath comes quick and shallow, far quicker than the deep slow breath of the giants overhead. This is a mammal, one of the first of its kind, an ancestor folded so far back along the line that leads to you that you would never recognize the kinship. And yet it is there, in the warm dark beneath the roots, your own deep family is sleeping out the day. For these small ones are creatures of the night. The day belongs to the dinosaurs, to the giants and the hunters and the quick-feathered things, and a warm-blooded creature the size of a mouse has no place in the bright, dangerous world above while the sun is up, so it has learned to invert the day. It sleeps through the warmth and the light, curled in its burrow, and it wakes when the dark comes down, and it goes about its small, urgent business under cover of night, When the great reptiles slow and cool, and the world grows quiet enough for something so small to risk itself in the open, its life is a life of smallness, and smallness has its own rich world. It feeds on insects, on the soft grubs that tunnel the rotting logs, on the beetles and the worms and the small soft things of the leaf litter. It hunts by smell and by touch, and by the long sensitive whiskers that fan from its muzzle, reading the dark as a blind hand reads a face. Its heart beats with a speed that would terrify a giant, a tiny frantic flutter that drives its warm quick life, and it must eat almost constantly to feed that little furnace, hunting and nibbling and hunting again through every hour of the dark. Near the sleeping mammal, in the same root tangle, other small lives are passing the day. A lizard lies pressed into a crack in the bark, flat and still in the exact grey-brown of the wood around it, invisible until it moves. It waits for the warmth to wake it fully, and then it will go hunting along the trunk, snapping up the insects that cross its path, basking in the rare shafts of sun that find the forest floor. It is cold-blooded, the lizard, and its day is shaped by the sun, the way the mammal's day is shaped by the dark. And the two of them share this small patch of forest in perfect ignorance of one another, divided by the simple wall of when they choose to wake. The insects are everywhere, the true multitude of this hidden world. Beetles of every size and shape labour through the litter, some no larger than a grain of sand, some as long as your finger, their hard shells gleaming dully in the dim light. Things with many legs paw over the rotting wood, eating the soft decay, turning the dead forest back into soil. Pale soft grubs work blindly through the inside of the logs. Spindly, long-legged hunters stalk the smaller insects through the moss, and spiders wait in the shadows, in webs strung between the ferns, patient as the whole patient forest for the careless to blunder into the silk. It is a busy quiet, the quiet of the forest floor. Nothing here is loud, but nothing here is truly still. There is always something moving, somewhere within reach, some small life crossing the litter on its small urgent errand. A beetle rights itself and trundles on, a worm withdraws into the earth. A drop of water gathers at the tip of a fern and swells and falls, and strikes a leaf below with a sound like the smallest possible bell. To grow still enough to notice these things is to discover that the empty forest floor is not empty at all, but crowded with life, layered with it, teeming with the tiny and the secret in every handful of dark earth. The fungi are the great slow architects of this world. They thread the soil and the rotting wood with fine pale filaments, finer than hair, reaching everywhere, knitting the whole forest floor together into a single living web. Through these threads the forest moves its riches, passing nutrients from the dead to the living, from the fallen log to the rising seedling, from the rich places to the poor. And when the time is right, the fungi push up their soft bodies into the air, the caps and shelves and pale ghostly fingers, to scatter their dust upon the wind. They do all this without sound, without haste, in the deep patience of things that measure their lives in the breaking down of wood, and the whole forest depends on their quiet work. In the warm dark beneath the roots, the small mammal stirs in its sleep. Some dream moves through it, some flicker of the night's hunting, and its tiny paws twitch, and a soft sound escapes it, and then it settles again, curling tighter into its bed of shredded fern. There is a tenderness in watching it, this small warm ancestor asleep in the shadow of giants, holding its little warmth close against the cool of the day, waiting for the dark that is its home. So much will come from such small sleeping things. But that is a story for worlds far in the future. For now it only sleeps, and dreams its small dreams, and the giants walk overhead all unknowing. A second mammal shares the burrow, smaller still, and a third, a litter of them perhaps, piled together for warmth in the deepest corner of the den. They are blind and nearly furless, newly born, and they nurse and sleep and nurse again, and their mother lies curled around them, her quick warm body a wall against the world. It is the oldest scene in the world that will one day be yours, this small mammal mother sheltering her young in the dark, and it is being played out here, beneath the feet of the dinosaurs, 150 million years before anyone exists to find it tender. Life shelters it small and helpless wherever life is found. It always has. Above the burrow, the afternoon light fails by slow degrees. The shafts of gold lean further and grow thin, and finally lift away from the forest floor entirely, climbing the trunks, leaving the lower forest to the gathering dusk. The cool of evening begins to pool among the roots, and in the burrow beneath the conifer, the small mammal's nose begins to twitch, and its large eyes open in the dark adapted, gleaming faintly, and it knows by some sure inner sense that the dangerous day is ending and the safer dark is near. It does not move yet. It waits, listening, smelling, reading the slow change of the light. But its long night is coming, and with it the open forest floor, and the hunting, and the brief, bright, dangerous freedom of the small. You leave the burrow to its waking and rise back up through the levels of the forest, up past the fern fronds and the fallen logs and the standing trunks, back toward the dim green light of the canopy floor. The forest is changing as the day declines. The birds that are not quite birds have fallen silent. The insects have shifted their songs to the dusk shift, the day singers giving way to the night singers, the hum changing key. A cool damp breath rises from the earth. The forest is exhaling the day and drawing in the night, slowly, the way it does everything. And out beyond the trees, on the open plain where the giants graze, the light is turning golden and long. The heat of noon has broken. The herds are stirring from their midday shade and beginning to feed again in the kinder warmth of the declining sun. The river is bright once more with the slanting light. The whole bright open world is shaking off the trance of noon and coming back to gentle motion, and there is one creature out there, one large and patient hunter, who has been waiting for exactly this hour. When the heat eases and the prey begins to move, kneel down now, here at the roots of the great world, and look at what lives in the small spaces beneath the giant's feet. Down among the fern stems and the fallen needles there is a whole second world, busy and intricate and almost wholly unseen, a world measured not in tons but in fractions of an ounce. A beetle the size of your thumbnail labours over a fallen frond, its back lacquered the deep green-black of wet stone, its small legs working with enormous patience. A line of pale ants threads along a root, each carrying a fragment of leaf above it like a tiny sail. The ground is alive with such small, persistent industry, going on and on beneath the notice of the great ones, who could crush 1,000 such lives with a single careless step and never know it. Under a curl of bark, in a hollow no larger than your cup-two hands, a small furred creature sleeps away the daylight, curled nose to tail in a nest of dry moss and shredded fern. It is one of the first of its kind in all the world, a small, warm-blooded thing no bigger than a shrew, with soft, dense fur and delicate hands and great dark eyes made for the dark. By day it hides, for the day belongs to the giants and the hunters. By night it will come creeping out to hunt the insects and the worms, to feed and breed and tend its tiny young in the safe black hours. It does not look like much, this small sleeping scrap of warmth in its hollow, but hold it gently in your mind, for everything that will ever wonder at this world, every eye that will ever look back across the deep time at the giants and the ferns, descends from small warm sleepers exactly such as this. There are lizards here too, quick and bright, basking on the warm stones where the sun reaches through the ferns, vanishing in a flicker when a shadow crosses them. And there are the patient architects of decay, the fungi, pushing their soft pale domes up through the leaf litter, threading the dead wood with their invisible nets, doing the slow, holy work of taking the fallen back into the earth so that it may rise again as fern and tree and giant. Nothing is wasted in this small, low world. Every fallen leaf, every dropped needle, every body that lies down at last and does not rise, is gathered in and broken down and given back, patiently, endlessly, by the small, soft labourers of the forest floor. There is a comfort in the smallness of these lives, if you let yourself feel it. They are so little of the world, and the world gives them so much: a warm hollow, a meal of insects, a safe dark hour, a place to sleep. They carry no burden of the future, hoard no fear of the end. The beetle does its slow work, and the small mammal sleeps its day away, and the fungus threads its quiet net, and each of them is perfectly, wholly at home in its one small patch of the ancient morning, wanting nothing it does not have. To kneel here among them and watch is to feel your own troubles shrink to their proper size, to feel the great weight of being large and aware and worried ease, for a moment, into the simple animal contentment of a creature that needs only to be warm and inkaged and safe and to sleep. And so you rise again from the small world and walk on, lighter than you were, and the morning has warmed toward noon, and the light lies thick and gold across the plain. But out at the forest's edge, where the shadows pool beneath the conifers, something has been still for a long time, watching the herd. It is large, and it is patient, and it has not moved in an hour. You feel no fear watching it, for you cannot be touched here, and besides, there is nothing fearful yet in the way it waits. Do not be afraid of it. We will watch it as we have watched everything here, softly, from a safe and dreamlike distance, and we will find that even the great hunter of this world spends most of its life in stillness and patience and rest, that the teeth and the claws are used rarely, that the long, slow economy of a predator's day is mostly waiting. There is nothing here that can reach you. There never has been. But there is much to understand in the great hunter who moves now at the forest's edge, and the golden evening is the hour it loves best. Come back out onto the plain gently, into the long light, and we will go quietly to meet it. The land flattens as you follow the giants down, and the ferns give way to a broad margin of soft-trodden mud, and there before you, spread wide and bright beneath the lowering sun, lies the great water. It is a shallow lake, fed by the river and swollen now with the gift of the afternoon rain, and it reaches away flat and gleaming toward the far line of the forest, so still in the windless evening air that it holds the whole sky upside down within it, the pale-washed blue, the gold of the westering sun, the last torn grey wisps of the departed storm. A long bar of pale sand divides the shallows, and along its length, and all around the wide margins of the lake, the creatures of the plain are gathering to drink in the cool, clean hour after the rain. They come from every direction, drawn by the water, drifting in from across the rain-washed plain in twos and threes and slow, long files. The giants are here, the great long-necked ones, wading out into the shallows on their column legs until the water laps their bellies, lowering their small heads on those impossible necks all the way down to the bright surface to drink. The plated wanderers are here, several of them together, stepping carefully down to the margin to dip their low beaks to the water. And there are others you have not yet seen, smaller two-legged grazers that move in nervous flocks, and squat broad armoured things that trundle down to the edge like walking boulders, and all of them, every kind, gathering peaceably at the wide, bright water in the gold of the evening. There is a truce at the water, and you feel it as soon as you come down among them, an old deep understanding that holds across all the kinds. The hunters do not hunt here. Or rather, the gathering is too great and too watchful and too near the open water for hunting to be easy, and so a kind of peace descends upon the margin in the drinking hour, a peace not of friendship but of mutual ease, in which the grazer and the browser and the small swift flock thing stand within a stone's throw of one another, and dip their heads to the same bright water and take no notice at all. The evening drinking is a gentle business, and the whole wide margin of the lake is given over to it, and over all of it lies the deep calm of creatures attending together to a simple shared need. Watch the giants drink. It is a slow and careful thing, for a creature with a neck so long to bring its small head all the way down to the water. The great body braces, the legs set wide in the shallows, and the long neck descends in a smooth, unhurried curve, down and down through the gold evening light, until at last the small mouth reaches the surface and breaks it, and the giant drinks, drawing the cool water up that vast length of throat. Then the head lifts again, streaming, and the giant stands a while with the water running from its jaws, gazing mildly out across the lake, before it lowers its neck once more for another long, slow draught. There is no haste in it. The light is gold. The water is cool and sweet. There is all the evening in which to drink. The surface of the lake is a perfect mirror in the still air, and the drinking creatures stand doubled in it, each great shape met at the waterline by its own inverted twin, so that the giants seem to wade through a world of sky, and the plated wanderers to stand upon their own reflected plates, and the whole gathering to hang suspended between two skies, the real one paling overhead, and the painted one trembling in the water below. Where a creature lowers its head to drink, the mirror breaks, the rings spread softly out across the bright surface, the doubled world shivers and blurs, and then, as the head lifts and the water stills, it heals itself again, whole and bright and perfect, holding the gold sky and the dark grazing shapes once more in its flawless depths. Out on the pale sandbar, a flock of the small two-legged grazers has gathered, slender and quick and alert, and they pick their nervous way down to the water's edge to drink in little darting rushes, dipping and lifting, never still, their bright eyes turning constantly to scan the margins, even as they drink. They are the watchful ones of the gathering, the first to sense any danger, and the larger, slower creatures have learned to trust their vigilance, to read in the sudden freezing of the flock a warning worth heeding. But nothing alarms them now. They drink and dart and drink again, and gradually even their nervousness eases in the deep calm of the evening, and they linger at the water longer and dip their heads more slowly, lulled like everything else by the gold light and the stillness and the cool, sweet water. The squat armoured grazers come last and slowest to the water, low, broad creatures plated over back and flank with knobs and ridges of bone, walking down to the margin with a heavy rolling gait like boulders that have learned, against all likelihood, to move. They are the tanks of the plain, so well defended that they fear almost nothing, and they drink with a placid, unhurried confidence, planting their broad feet in the soft mud and lowering their armoured heads to the water and drawing it up in long, slow pulls. A young one trots at its mother's side, its armour still soft and pale, and dips its small head beside hers, and the two of them drink together at the gold water while the evening deepens around them. You find a low dry rise at the water's edge and settle yourself upon it to watch, and the whole great peaceable assembly spreads before you in the lowering light. The giants wade and drink in the deeper water, the plated ones browse the soft growth along the margin, the small flocks dart and dip on the sandbar, the armoured ones drink their slow draughts in the shallows. And over all of them the sky goes slowly from gold to amber to a deep and burning rose, and the lake holds every shifting colour of it, and the air is cool and sweet and utterly still, and a vast and gentle quiet lies over the gathering, broken only by the soft sounds of drinking, the lap and trickle of water, the occasional low call of one great creature to another across the bright expanse. Insects have come out over the water in the cool of the evening, fine clouds of them hanging and shimmering above the still surface, and the small fish are rising to them, dimpling the gold mirror with their soft circles, and now and then a flyer comes skimming low across the lake to snatch an insect from the air, or a fish from just beneath the surface, its reflection rushing up to meet it in the bright water and falling away again as it climbs. The swallows of this ancient evening, if you may call them that, weave their tireless patterns above the gathering, and the rings of the rising fish spread and overlap across the whole wide surface, and the lake murmurs softly to itself with all this gentle, ceaseless life. A great stillness is in you now, watching all this, the deep stillness that comes of witnessing many creatures at peace. There is something in a gathering at water, in the sight of many different lives drawn together by a common gentle need, and laying their differences down at the margin, that soothes the watching heart at a level deeper than thought. They want nothing here but to drink and to be cool, and to stand a while in the gold light by the still water. They have no quarrel with one another in this hour. They are simply, all of them together, alive at the close of a warm day, attending to the oldest and simplest of comforts, the cool water, the easing light, the gathering calm of the coming night. The sun touches the far line of the forest now, and the light goes from rose to a deep smouldering red, and the lake becomes a sheet of dark fire holding the burning sky. The drinking is winding down. One by one the creatures take their last long draughts and turn from the water and begin to drift away from the margin, back up toward the higher ground where they will bed down for the night, the giants moving off in their slow great files, the plated ones trailing after, the small flocks lifting all at once from the sandbar and flowing away across the dimming plain. The gathering is dispersing gently into the dusk, each kind drawing off toward its own place of rest, the truce of the water quietly ending as the need that made it is met. You sit on your low rise and watch them go, the great shapes moving off dark against the burning sky, and the lake empties slowly and grows still, until at last the wide water lies almost deserted in the last red light, smooth and dark and perfect, holding the dying fire of the sky in its flawless depths. A single giant lingers in the shallows, drinking still, its long neck a dark curve against the rose, and then it too lifts its head and turns and wades slowly to the shore and moves off after the others, the water streaming from its flanks, and the lake is left alone with the evening, mirror still, holding the first faint stars now in the deepening blue above the fading red. The cool comes up off the water as the light fails, soft and clean against your skin, and the smell of the lake rises, the green wet smell of mud and water, and the day's rain still draining slowly from the high country down into the brimming shallows. The insects thin and quiet. The last rings of the rising fish spread and fade and are not renewed. A deep hush settles over the wide water, the hush of the day's end, and you sit on at the margin in the gathering dark, in no hurry to rise, watching the colour drain slowly from the sky and the stars come out one by one above the still and darkening lake. There will be other gatherings at other waters, on other evenings of this long warm age, the same slow, peaceable assembling of the kinds, the same truce in the drinking hour, the same gold light failing over the same still margins, season upon season, year upon uncounted year, for as long as the giants walk the plain. It is one of the steady, gentle rhythms of this old world, the gathering at the water in the cool of the evening, as old as thirst, as old as the lake itself, and there is a deep comfort in knowing that it will go on, that tomorrow at this hour the creatures will drift down again to drink in the gold light, and the day after, and the day after that, faithfully, for ages out of mind. A pair of giants stands close together in the deeper water, the two great necks crossing and uncrossing as they drink, and now and then one lays its small head for a moment against the other's flank, a brief and gentle contact, before lifting it away to drink again. They are old companions, perhaps, these two, members of the same slow herd through all the long years of their lives, and there is an easy familiarity in the way they stand together at the water, an unhurried tenderness that needs no display. The light gilds their wet flanks. The mirror of the lake doubles them, and they drink on side by side in the gold of the evening, two great peaceable creatures keeping each other company at the close of a warm and ordinary day, wanting nothing in all the world that they do not already have. Rise now, slowly, from your place at the margin, and turn from the dark and gleaming water, and follow the last of the great shapes up toward the higher ground. In the deepening dusk, the gathering is over, the evening has come. Far off across the plain, at the edge of the forest, in the pooling shadow beneath the conifers, the patient hunter of this world is stirring from its long day's rest as the cool comes on, lifting its great head, opening its gold eye to the failing light. But there is nothing to fear in that, even now. Walk on through the soft blue dusk, in the cool sweet air, and we will go and look upon the hunter once more before the dark comes fully down. Gently, from a safe and dreamlike distance, as we have looked upon everything in this kind old world, it is standing in the shade at the forest's edge, where the trees give way to the open plain, and it is so still that you might walk past it without ever knowing it was there. It is large, the largest hunter on this whole wide lowland, longer than the largest crocodile-kin and far taller, built to walk upright on two great muscled legs, with its long heavy tail held out behind it for balance. Its body is the colour of the dappled shade it stands in, mottled grey and brown and dusty green, and against the broken light of the forest edge it nearly disappears. This is the great two-legged hunter of the Jurassic, the predator that stands at the top of this world's slow food chain. Films would have you believe that such a creature lives in a frenzy of teeth and roaring. The truth is far quieter. The truth is that it stands here now, as it stands for most of every day, simply watching, simply waiting, its great body conserving its strength, its yellow eyes moving slowly across the plain where the herds are beginning to feed again in the cooling light. For a hunter this size cannot afford to waste itself. Every chase costs an enormous price in energy, in the risk of injury, in the long recovery afterward. A creature that hunts giants cannot simply run them down whenever it pleases. It must choose its moment with great care, must wait for the old one, the young one, the sick one, the one that has wandered too far from the protection of the herd, and it must spend the rest of its time, the great majority of its time, doing exactly what it is doing now, standing in the shade, watching, resting, waiting for the world to offer it an opening. So watch it as it watches. There is a deep economy in its stillness. Its breathing is slow and even, the great rib cage rising and falling. Now and then it shifts its weight, easing one leg and then the other, and the movement is so smooth and so slow that the herds out on the plain take no notice. It turns its head, and the long jaws part slightly, tasting the air, reading the scents the evening breeze brings it. The smell of the giants, the smell of the smaller browsers, the smell of the river. It is gathering information, patiently, the way a fisherman watches the water, and it is in no hurry to act on what it learns. Its head is a marvel of careful design. The skull is large but lightened, hollowed and arched, built strong where the strain of the bite will fall and pared away everywhere else, so that the great jaws can be carried easily and swung quickly. The teeth within are not the simple cones of a crocodile, but flattened blades, curved and edged on both sides with the finest serrations, made not for crushing but for slicing, for opening a wound and letting it do its slow work. The eyes face partly forward, giving the hunter a measure of the depth perception it needs to judge a strike. And they are calm now, those eyes, half-lidded against the slanting light, watchful but unhurried. Out on the plain, a small browser strays from its group, drawn by a stand of tender ferns, and drifts further than it should from the safety of numbers. The hunter notices. Nothing in its body changes, no sudden tensing, no crouch, but its eyes settle on the straying animal and stay there. And you understand that a decision is being weighed, slowly, in the patient depths of that watching mind. The browser feeds on, unaware. The distance between them is great. The hunter does not move. It is calculating, in the wordless arithmetic of the predator, the cost and the chance and the moment, and it has not yet decided that the moment has come, and in the end it lets the browser go. The little animal, some instinct finally pricking, lifts its head, sees how far it has wandered, and trots back toward its group, and the opening closes, and the hunter's eyes move on without any sign of disappointment. There will be other moments. There are always other moments, on a plain so full of life, and the hunter has learned across its long life that patience is the surest weapon it owns. It did not become the largest predator of this world by chasing every chance. It became so by waiting for the right one. The sun sinks lower, and the light turns from gold to amber, and the whole plain is washed in the long warm colours of the evening. The hunter steps at last out of the shade and into the open, and you see it fully now, the full great length of it. And it is beautiful in the way that anything perfectly suited to its life is beautiful. It moves with an unexpected grace, the long tail counterbalancing the heavy head, the great legs swinging in an easy economical stride, covering the ground without seeming to try. It is not hunting now. It is simply moving, crossing the plain toward the water, to drink and to rest as the day ends, the same as every other creature here. At the river it lowers its great head and drinks, and the giants that are still scattered along the bank take note of it and drift a little further off. But they do not flee. They are too large for it. A healthy adult giant has nothing to fear from even the largest hunter, for no predator could bring down such a mountain of an animal. And the two great kinds of creature share the riverbank in a wary, ancient, mutual respect. The hunter drinks. The giants graze a little distance off. The evening holds them both, predator and giant, in the same soft amber light. And for this hour at least, there is no violence in the world, only thirst and water, and the long day ending. It is worth sitting with this a while, the gentleness of the great hunter at rest. We carry such fear of the predators of the old world, such images of red and roaring savagery, and the truth is so much quieter. The hunter kills because it must eat, as everything must eat, and it kills cleanly and rarely and without malice, and it spends the overwhelming majority of its days exactly as you see it now, standing, walking, drinking, resting, watching the world with calm and patient eyes. There is no cruelty in it. There is only hunger and patience, and the long, slow business of staying alive in a world that asks much of those who would stay at its top. When it has drunk its fill, the hunter turns from the river and walks slowly back toward the forest edge, to the place it favours, a low rise of dry ground beneath the outermost trees, where it can lie with the forest at its back and the plain spread open before it. It lowers itself with care, folding its great legs, settling its heavy body onto the warm earth, arranging its long tail along its side. It rests its head, and its eyes grow heavy, and the watchful tension goes out of it by slow degrees. Even the great hunter sleeps. Even the top of the world lies down at the end of the day and gives itself to the dark. Around it the evening deepens. The amber light fades to rose, and the rose to a deep dimming blue, and the first cool of true evening moves across the plain. The herds are settling for the night, the giants drawing together, the smaller browsers gathering into tight, watchful groups. The fishing fliers have come home to their roosts in the dead snags along the river. The day creatures are giving way, one by one, to the rest that the dark will bring, and the great hunter lies among them, no longer a terror, only another tired animal at the close of another long day, breathing slow, eyes closed, at peace. You sit a little way off, in the gathering dusk, and you feel the day winding down around you and within you both at once. The light is going, the warmth is softening into the gentle cool of evening, the great hunter sleeps, and the giants sleep on their feet, and the small mammals are only now waking in their burrows beneath the trees, and the whole world is turning over slowly from its day life to its night life in the long blue hush of the Jurassic evening. There is a peace in it so complete that it asks nothing of you but to share it. It rests in the shade at the forest's edge, and at first you do not see it at all, for its mottled hide is the very colour of the dappled shadow, browns and dull golds and soft greys broken into patches that dissolve its great shape against the trees. Then it breathes, a long, slow swelling of the deep-ribbed flank, and the shape resolves, and you see the whole of it, the heavy body slung level above the bent and folded legs, the long thick tail laid out behind for balance, the great head with its long jaw resting now, half open, upon the cool earth. It is the hunter of this world, the thing the giants watch for, and it is doing nothing at all but lying in the shade through the heat of the day, breathing and watching and resting its enormous patience. The eye is open. That is the only sign of the wakefulness inside the stillness. It is a forward-facing eye, gold and deep, set to look out along the line of the jaw, and it moves, slowly, tracking the distant herd across the shimmering plain without any hurry at all. The hunter is not hunting. It fed 2 days ago, fed well, and the great slow furnace of its body is still working through that meal, and it will not need to feed again for days. So it lies in the shade and watches, the way you might watch a fire, with no intention in the watching, only a deep animal attention to the warm moving world. The herd knows it is there. The giants are not afraid. A wall of living mountains has nothing to fear from a single resting hunter, and they graze on, unhurried, within sight of the very jaws that might one day take one of their old or their sick or their young. This is the truth the stories never tell about the great hunters, that their lives are mostly stillness. The teeth and the claws and the terrible speed are real, but they are the work of minutes, scattered rarely across long days and weeks of waiting, of resting, of lying in the shade with a full belly and a half-closed eye while the slow hours pass. The hunter spends its life as the crocodile spends its life on the bank, as the small mammal spends its day in the hollow, waiting, conserving, being still. There is an economy in it, a deep wisdom of the body, that knows the chase is costly and the rest is cheap, and spends accordingly. And so the most fearsome creature on the plain is, for nearly all of its life, the stillest, drowsing out the golden afternoon in the green shade while the world goes peacefully on around it. You move closer, because here you can, because nothing here can reach you, and you stand near enough to watch the slow rise and fall of that great breathing, near enough to see the dust settle on the long lashes, to see the slow blink, to see the heavy head sink a fraction lower toward the cool earth, as the warmth and the fullness and the long quiet hour do their work. The hunter is growing drowsy. Its watching has loosened. The gold eye half closes, opens, half closes again. The breathing deepens and slows. And you realize, with a kind of wonder, that the terror of the Jurassic plain is falling asleep in front of you, sinking down into the same warm afternoon drowse that is stealing over you as you watch, that even this, even the great hunter, is held in the end by the simple animal need to rest. Let it sleep. Let the herd graze on in the gold distance, safe for another day. The hunter's jaw rests on the earth and its breath comes slow and even, and the menace has gone out of it entirely, and it is only a large tired animal asleep in the shade, as harmless now as the sleeping plain itself. There will be a day, somewhere far off, when it rises, and the chase comes, and the old hard business of living and dying plays itself out across the ferns. But not today. Today there is only the shade, and the slow breathing, and the long gold afternoon, and far out on the plain, walking slowly toward you through the heat. A stranger shape than any you have yet seen, plated and peaceful, moving along the ground. But the day is not quite finished, and there is one more creature of the open plain to meet before the dark comes fully down. Out across the dimming ferns, half hidden in the failing light, a strange and ancient shape is settling for the night, broad and low and crested along its back with a double row of great plates that catch the last of the glow. It is one of the strangest of all the dinosaurs, and the most peaceful, a slow armoured wanderer of the evening plains, and we will go to it now, gently, while the last light lasts, before we let the dark and the stars come down over everything. Walk out across the cooling ferns, slowly, toward the plated one, and let the hunter sleep behind you. It stands alone in the blue evening, and at first you take it for a strange low hill, or a fallen tree, or some trick of the failing light. Then it moves, and you see it whole, and it is one of the most peculiar shapes that has ever walked the earth. Its body is broad and deep, slung low between 4 sturdy legs, the back legs much longer than the front, so that the whole animal slopes downward toward a small head carried near the ground. And rising from its back, in a great double row from neck to tail, stand the plates broad as shields, thin as boards, alternating down its spine like the sails of a fleet at anchor. This is the plated wanderer, one of the most placid creatures of the Jurassic plains. It is a browser, an eater of low soft plants, and its whole strange body is built around the gentle business of grazing the ground-level growth. The small head hangs low, where the ferns and cycads grow. The toothless beak at the front of its mouth clips the vegetation, and the small, simple teeth behind grind it down, and the animal moves slowly across the plain, head down, gathering its endless quiet meal from the carpet of green beneath it. The plates are the wonder of it, and no one who has ever seen them has been able to look away. They are not armour, not really, for they are too thin and too high and too exposed to turn a serious bite. They rise along the back in a great decorative crest, and in the last light of the evening they glow faintly, flushed with the warmth of the blood that runs through them, for they are threaded with vessels, and they are alive. Perhaps they catch the warmth of the morning sun and carry it into the cold body. Perhaps they shed the heat of noon. Perhaps, most likely of all, they are simply for show, a great living banner by which one plated wanderer knows another across the wide plain, a flag of belonging raised against the evening sky. At the far end of the animal, where the long tail tapers, the peacefulness ends in the one concession this gentle creature makes to danger. There the tail carries 4 great spikes, long as your arm, sharp and outward pointing, the only weapon on this whole unwarlike body. The plated wanderer does not hunt and does not fight, but should a hunter press it too closely, that spiked tail can swing in a slow, heavy arc with enough force to break a leg or open a flank, and the hunters of this plain have learned, across long generations, to give the plated ones a wide and respectful berth. The weapon is held in reserve, almost never used, a quiet promise of consequence that keeps the peace by never needing to be kept. The head of the animal is strangely small for so large a body, and within it sits a brain no larger than a walnut. The plated wanderer is not a clever creature. It does not need to be. Its life asks nothing of cleverness. It needs only to find the low green plants which are everywhere, and to clip them and grind them and move slowly on, and to swing its spiked tail at anything that comes too near. And these few simple things, its small, slow mind manages without difficulty. There is a kind of grace in a life so perfectly matched to so simple a need. The animal carries no worry, holds no plan, frets over nothing. It grazes and walks and grazes again, and is content. You walk beside it for a while in the deepening dusk, matching its slow pace, and the slowness gets into you the way the rhythm of the giants did at dawn. There is no hurry in this animal at all. Its great body sways gently with each step. The plates nod along its back. The small head swings low across the ferns, clipping, and the spiked tail trails behind it through the silvering grass ferns, drawing a long, faint line across the plain. It pays you no mind. It pays nothing any mind. It is wholly absorbed in the gentle, endless task of feeding, and to walk beside it is to be drawn into that absorption, into the quiet, meditative repetition of a life with only one thing to do. The light is nearly gone now. The sun has dropped behind the far hills, and the sky above them burns with the last deep colours of the day, rose and gold and a green so pale it is almost silver, and against that fading glow the plates of the wanderer stand out black and strange, A row of dark sails on the darkening plain. The first stars are pricking through overhead, faint at first, then clearer, in a sky that holds no moon tonight. A sky of pure deep blue going slowly to black. The cool of evening has become the cool of night. The day is ending, gently, the way it began. The plated wanderer feeds more slowly now, and then stops and stands still in the gathering dark, and you understand that it too is settling for the night. It folds its legs with great care, lowering its heavy body to the ground, arranging itself among the ferns. The plates settle. The spiked tail curls in along its side. The small head lowers and rests, and the slow breathing deepens, and the animal grows still, just one more dark and peaceful shape upon a plain, full of dark and peaceful shapes, all of them sinking together into the long Jurassic night, and you feel the pull of that same sinking. The whole world is lying down around you. The giants stand drowsing in their loose great circle. The hunter sleeps at the forest's edge. The plated wanderer rests among the ferns. The small mammals have gone out into the cooling dark to hunt, and the fish have sunk to the still depths of the river, and the fliers have folded their wings in the high snags, and over all of them the stars are wheeling up, cold and clear and countless. In a sky that has never known a city's glow, the day is done, the long rest is beginning, and there is nowhere in all this gentle ending that you need to be but here, sinking softly with the rest of the world towards sleep. It comes slowly out of the heat shimmer, and for a long moment you cannot make sense of it, this low, broad shape with the strange crest along its back, until it draws near enough for the shimmer to release it and you see it whole and plain. The plates run in a double row from the small low head to the spiked and swinging tail, broad as shields and thin as boards, and as the animal moves between you and the lowering sun, the light comes through them, and they glow, each one veined and warm and faintly red, with the blood that runs inside it, a row of living lanterns lit against the gold of the afternoon. You have never seen anything like it. Nothing alive in your own world is shaped remotely so, and yet there is nothing fearful in it at all, only a deep, strange peacefulness, the peace of a creature wholly absorbed in the gentle, endless work of eating the low green plants. It is a browser, this plated one, an eater of the soft growth that carpets the ground, and its whole odd body is built around that humble, downward-looking life. The small head hangs low, where the ferns and the young cycads grow, and the horned beak at the front of the jaws clips the vegetation free, and the small leaf-shaped teeth behind grind it slowly down, and the animal moves on, step by patient step, head swinging low across the green, gathering its meal from the carpet of the world. It does not look up. It has little need to. Its food is everywhere beneath it, and its few enemies it deals with not by watching but by the long spiked tail it carries always at the ready, and so it grazes with its whole attention bent downward, lost in the slow, meditative rhythm of the feeding. Watch the plates a while, for they are the wonder of the animal, and no one who sees them can look away. They are too thin, and stand too high, and lie too exposed to be armour. A serious bite would shatter them. They are something stranger and gentler than armour. They are threaded through with blood, warm to the touch, and perhaps in the cool of the morning the animal turns its flank to the rising sun and lets the plates drink the warmth and carry it down into the great cold body, and perhaps in the heat of noon it turns away and lets the moving air draw the heat off through them. Or perhaps, most likely of all, they are simply a banner, a great living flag of belonging by which one plated wanderer knows another across the wide plain, by which it says, "Here I am, here is one of your own kind. You are not alone in the world." At the far end, where the tail tapers, the gentleness gives way to the one hard promise this peaceable animal makes. 4 great spikes stand there, long as your forearm, sharp and angled outward, the only weapons on the whole unwarlike body. The plated wanderer does not hunt and does not seek a fight, but a hunter that presses too close will meet that tail swinging round in a slow, heavy arc with force enough to break a leg or lay open a flank, and the hunters of this plain have learned, over long, hard generations, to keep a wide and careful distance from the plated ones. The weapon is almost never used. It does not need to be. It is held in reserve, a quiet certainty of consequence, and the certainty alone is enough to keep the peace. The head is strangely small for so great a body, and the mind within it is no larger than a walnut, and the plated wanderer is not, by any measure, a clever animal. But it does not need to be clever. Its life asks nothing of cleverness. It needs only to find the low green plants, which grow everywhere it walks, and to clip them and grind them and move slowly on, and to swing its spiked tail at whatever comes too near. And these few simple things, its small, slow mind manages without the least difficulty. There is a deep grace in a life so perfectly fitted to so simple a need, a life with no surplus of worry, no excess of thought, no plan, and no dread and no regret. The animal carries nothing it does not need. It grazes and walks and grazes again and wants for nothing and is content. Beside it, half in the shadow of its mother's plated flank, a young one feeds. It is a small soft copy of the great animal, its own plates still low and rounded and not yet grown to their full strange height, its spikes still blunt, its movements still a little uncertain on the broad plain. It keeps close to the warm bulk of the adult, clipping at the same low ferns, learning by simple nearness, the one slow art its life will ever ask of it. Now and then it pauses and lifts its small head and looks about at the wide world, at the distant giants, and the gold light and the darkening line of the forest, and then it lowers its head again and goes back to the ferns, reassured, gathered back into the safe, slow rhythm of its mother's grazing. You walk beside the plated wanderer through the deepening afternoon, matching your pace to its unhurried step, and the slowness of it gets into you as the rhythm of the giants did at dawn. There is no haste in this animal anywhere. The great body sways gently with each footfall. The plates nod softly along its back. The small head swings low across the ferns, clip and clip and clip, and behind it the spiked tail trails a long, faint line through the silvering grass ferns. It pays you no mind. It pays nothing any mind. It is wholly given over to the gentle, endless task of feeding, and to walk beside it is to be drawn down into that absorption, into the quiet, repeating meditation of a creature with only one thing in all the world to do, and all the long, slow day in which to do it. Rest here a while, beside the sleeping plated wanderer, beneath the wheeling Jurassic stars. The plates rise and fall with its slow breath. The ferns stir faintly in the cool night air. Somewhere far off the river murmurs on, and a night bird that is not quite a bird calls once and falls silent, and the great calm of the night settles over the whole wide plain. There is so much more of this old world still to see, the warm seas and the things that swim in them, the creatures of the open water, the wings against the dawn. But there is no hurry. There is never any hurry here. Let the plated wanderer sleep, and rest your own weight down into the warm dark earth, and we will go on, gently, when you are ready, and not before. If you are drifting now, let yourself drift. There is nothing left to hold on to, and nowhere you need to follow. If you would like more stories like this one waiting for you the next time you cannot sleep, you can subscribe, and the next quiet journey will be here when you return. For now, just rest. The old world will keep telling itself to you, softly, whether you are listening or not. Sleep well. The dream carries you on through the night and sets you down at the edge of the sea, where the river you have followed all day finally finds the salt water and lets go of it. Here the land lies low and flat, a country of pale lagoons and reed-fringed channels and long bars of white sand, and the warm, shallow sea spreads out beyond it, to a horizon so distant and so level that you cannot tell where the water ends and the sky begins. A new day is breaking over it, a sea dawn, pearl grey and pink and tender, and the still water holds the colours of the sky so perfectly that the whole world seems made of the same soft light. The sea here is not deep, for mile upon mile out from the shore the water lies shallow and warm and clear, a great drowned shelf of land flooded by the gentle seas of this age, nowhere deeper than you could dive, in many places so shallow that the pale, sandy bottom shows through the surface, like the floor of a vast clear bath. The water is the temperature of a warm pool. There is no chill in it anywhere. To wade out into it would be to feel it close around you, soft and tepid and welcoming, and the small fish would scatter before your feet in flashes of silver. The lagoons along the shore are stiller even than the open sea. They lie behind the sandbars in flat, bright sheets, cut off from the waves, warmed almost to bath water by the climbing sun, their surfaces unbroken but for the dimple of a rising fish or the touch of a wading flyer. The water in them is very clear and very still and very salt, saltier than the open sea, and along their edges the salt has dried into pale crusts and rings that mark the slow shrinking of the pools through the dry season. They are quiet places, the lagoons, the quietest in all this quiet world, held in a stillness so complete that the sky lies in them like a second sky. Out in the shallows, the great slow business of the sea is feeding. The water is thick with life too small to see, a haze of drifting specks, the floating pastureland of the whole ocean. Each speck is a single tiny creature, a fleck of living glass, and there are more of them in a single handful of this warm water than there are giants in all the world, more than there are trees in all the forests, more than any number you could hold in your mind. They drift and bloom and multiply in the warm lit water, and they are the foundation on which everything else here stands, the broad green base of the whole tall pyramid of the sea. Some of these tiny drifters wear shells, and the shells are the strangest and most beautiful thing about them. Each one builds itself a tiny armour of chalk, plates and discs, and intricate wheels of pure white mineral, finer than any jeweller could make, and it carries this armour through its brief life, and when it dies the armour sinks. Down through the warm clear water the tiny shells drift, slow as the slowest snow, a constant gentle falling, and they gather on the sea floor in a soft pale ooze, layer upon layer upon layer, age upon age. In time, in unimaginable time, that ooze will harden into stone, into the white chalk cliffs of far future coasts, and the whole bright cliff will be nothing but the gathered shells of these tiny drifters, each one a life that lived and died in the warm Jurassic shallows and fell, slowly, into the long pale snow at the bottom of the sea. You wade out into the warm shallows, and the small fish scatter and reform around you, and you walk through the drowned and gardened sea. The bottom is pale sand, rippled by the gentle current, and across it move the slow creatures of the shelf. There are shellfish everywhere, clams and their kin, half buried in the sand, their shells open a crack to filter the rich water. There are spiral shells creeping slowly over the bottom on soft muscular feet, grazing the films of life that coat the sand. And there are urchins and stars and the strange soft-anchored things that filter the water through their fringes, all of them living the slow filtered life of the warm sea floor, asking nothing of the day but the endless soft rain of food the water brings them. And there are the coiled ones, the chambered swimmers, drifting through the middle water on their slow searching tentacles. Each one lives in a beautiful spiral shell, coiled tight and ribbed and pearly, and within the shell a series of sealed chambers hold the air that lets the animal float, so that it hangs weightless in the water, neither rising nor sinking, drifting where the current and its own soft jet propulsion take it. From the open mouth of the shell its tentacles reach out, searching, and its large strange eyes watch the water, and it moves through the warm shallows with the same dreamlike slowness as everything else here, a living jewel adrift in a sea of light. These coiled swimmers are everywhere in the Jurassic seas, in 1,000 kinds and sizes, from shells no larger than a coin to shells as broad as a cartwheel. They are among the most successful creatures the ocean has ever held, and they fill the warm shallows in their drifting multitudes, and their beautiful shells, like the tiny chalk armour of the drifters, will sink and gather and harden into stone, and far future hands will find them coiled in the rock, perfect, patient, the frozen signatures of this warm and gentle sea, but that is for the deep future. Now they only drift, and search, and feed, and the morning light comes down through the clear water and lights their pearly shells from above. There are squid-like swimmers too, swift and soft and quick, jetting through the open water in small hunting schools, their bodies pale and torpedo smooth, propelling themselves backward through the water in sudden darts. Within each of them is a slender bullet of hard mineral, a kind of internal shell, and these too will fall and gather and turn to stone, scattered through the future rock like fallen darts, the only hard remnant of these soft, swift creatures of the warm Jurassic shallows. The sea is full of them, flickering through the middle water, the quickest things in all this slow, bright, drowned world. The morning warms, and the sea grows brighter, and the light reaches deep into the clear water and fills it from above. You stand waist-deep in the warm shallows, and the whole sea glows around you, the pale sand below catching the light and throwing it back up, the surface above breaking it into a net of moving brightness that wavers across the bottom and across your own still form. The water is so clear that distance disappears within it. You can see the slow creatures of the bottom far out toward the deeper water, can see the coiled swimmers drifting at every level, can see the small fish hanging in their loose schools, all of it suspended in light, all of it slow, all of it utterly at peace. A wading flyer stalks the shallows nearby, lifting its long legs high and setting them down without a ripple, watching the water with fierce patience. It is one of the leather-winged kind, but it has come down to the sea to fish on foot, and it moves through the shallows like a held breath, freezing, watching, striking down suddenly into the water, and lifting its head with a small fish gleaming in its long beak. Then it stills again, and watches, and waits, and the warm water laps around its thin legs, and the whole patient, ancient business of fishing goes on, as it has gone on for longer than there have been eyes to watch it. Further out, where the water deepens from clear pale green to a richer blue, larger shapes are moving. You can just make them out, the long, smooth forms of the sea's true swimmers, rolling now and then to the surface to breathe before sinking again into the deeper water. They are not fish. They are reptiles that long ago returned to the sea and remade themselves for it, and they move through the deeper water with a grace and a speed that no fish can match. And they are the great patrolling presences of this drowned, bright world. You cannot quite see them yet, but they are there, out past the shallows, in the deeper blue, and the warm, clear water is leading you toward them. The tide is gentle here, the rise and fall of it slow and small, for the seas of this age are not given to violence. The waves that reach the shore are low and soft, sliding up the pale sand and sliding back with a long sigh. Again and again, the oldest and most soothing rhythm in the world. You stand and listen to it, the slow breath of the sea against the land, in and out, the swell rising and the swell falling, and beneath that broad, slow rhythm your own breath finds its place, and your thoughts grow slow and few, and the warm water holds you, and the bright sea stretches away to its impossible level horizon under the climbing sun. There is no scene in all the old world more peaceful than this warm and shallow sea. The plain had its wandering giants, the forest had its green and ancient hush, but the sea has a peace deeper than either, the peace of warm water and soft light and slow drifting life, the peace of a world reduced to its gentlest elements, salt and sun and the endless patient swell, to float here, weightless, in the warm clear shallows, with the light wavering across the pale sand below and the coiled swimmers drifting past and the slow waves sighing against the distant shore, is to come very close to the heart of rest itself. The land slopes down at last toward the sea, and the ferns give way to a margin of pale sand and warm, shallow water that reaches out flat and shining to a horizon almost too bright to look at. This is no cold grey ocean. The Jurassic Sea is warm as a bath in its shallows, clear as glass, a pale jewelled green over the white sand shelving gently out, and it is so still that the small waves barely break, only lean in and lay themselves down with a long soft sigh and draw back again, over and over, the oldest and most patient sound in all the world. You walk out into it ankle deep, and the warm water curls around your feet, and the white sand is soft and firm beneath them, and the whole bright sea breathes its slow tidal breath against the shore. Look closely at the water, and you will see that it is faintly clouded, faintly milky, thick with a life too small to see one by one. The Jurassic seas are crowded with drifting multitudes of tiny creatures, plants and animals, smaller than dust, each one armoured in a fleck of shell or plate finer than you could ever see, and they drift in their countless billions through the warm, sunlit water, being born and dying and sinking forever in a slow, unending snow. And as they sink, their tiny shells settle to the seafloor and gather there, fleck upon fleck upon fleck, over 10,000 years, over 1,000,000, building in the dark a soft white sediment fathoms deep, the patient harvest of the smallest lives in the sea. It is a strange thing to stand in the warm shallows and know what that white sediment will one day become. For these drifting flecks, these motes of shell too small to see, are laying down the chalk of a world not yet born. Pressed by the weight of ages, lifted by the slow heave of the earth, the white deep will rise one distant day into high pale cliffs standing bright above a colder sea, and creatures with curious minds will walk along their feet and break the soft stone in their hands, and never guess that they are holding the bodies of uncountable tiny lives that drifted once, through a warm green Jurassic shallows exactly such as this one. But that is all ahead, all unimaginably far ahead. For now the small lives drift and shine and sink, and the warm sea holds them, and the slow snow falls and falls through the sunlit water. Out where the water deepens to a richer green, the coiled shells of the ammonites drift and hang. They are the wanderers of these seas, soft tentacled creatures housed in beautiful spiraled shells chambered like the inside of a horn, and they hover and glide through the warm water with a slow grace, trailing their tentacles, rising and sinking by some quiet adjustment of the gas within their coils. Among them dart the swift torpedo shapes of the belemnites, kin to the squid, leaving faint clouds behind them as they jet away. The whole warm sea is busy with this gentle drifting life, this slow coiled hovering and quiet darting, all of it bathed in the green-gold light that shafts down through the clear water and wavers on the white sand far below. Let the warm sea hold you a while. There is no floor you need to stand on, and no weight you need to carry. The water lifts you, soft and tepid and bright, and the slow swell rocks you, and the small fish flicker past, and the morning light pours down through the clear green water and fills the whole drowned world with its gentle glow. Out past the shallows the great swimmers are rolling and breathing in the deeper blue, and we will go to them soon, weightless through the warm, clear water. But not yet. Rest here first, afloat in the bright shallows, and let the sea breathe you slowly towards sleep. The dream lets you slip beneath the surface, and you find that here you can breathe the water as easily as air, and move through it as easily as you moved across the land. The shallows close over you, warm and green and full of wavering light, and the world goes quiet in the particular way that only the underwater world goes quiet. Every sound softened and slowed and far away, the whole bright sea humming faintly with a stillness that presses gently against your ears. You hang weightless in the warm green light, and the slow life of the sea drifts past you, and you are part of it now, suspended, untethered, at rest. The bottom lies below you, pale and rippled, dappled with the moving net of light from the surface. Across it the slow creatures creep and filter and graze. Above you the surface hangs like a sheet of moving silver, and the small fish school against it in their thousands, turning all together in a single flowing motion, flashing silver as they turn, then dark, then silver again, a great loose breathing cloud of them sliding through the upper water. To watch a school of fish turn as one is to watch something with no centre and no leader move as though it were a single mind, and the sight of it is endlessly, restfully strange. And now, out of the deeper blue, the first of the great swimmers comes gliding. It is shaped almost exactly like a dolphin, though no dolphin will exist for 100 million years. A smooth, swift torpedo of an animal, with a long toothed snout and great round eyes, and a tall curved fin upon its back. It is a fish lizard, a reptile remade so completely for the sea that it can never leave it, that it gives birth to living young in the open water, that it has forgotten the land entirely. It moves with an effortless flexing of its whole body, the tail sweeping side to side, and it slides through the water faster than anything else here, and yet so smoothly that it seems hardly to be trying at all. Its eyes are enormous, the largest eyes of any animal that has ever lived, great dark spheres ringed with bony plates, made for gathering light in the dim depths where it hunts. But here in the bright shallows it is not hunting, only passing through, and as it glides by it turns one of those great calm eyes upon you, and for a moment you are held in its ancient gaze, unafraid and unafraid of, two creatures suspended in the same warm water across an unbridgeable gulf of time. Then it is past, sliding on into the green distance with a last slow sweep of its tail, and the water closes behind it, and you are alone again in the light. Another shape comes after it, and this one moves quite differently. Where the fish lizard flexed and darted, this one rose, slowly, gracefully, on four great wing-like flippers that beat the water in long synchronized strokes, as though the animal were flying through the sea rather than swimming through it. Its body is broad and turtle-smooth, and from it rises a neck so long and so slender that it seems to belong to another creature entirely, a neck like a serpent, curving and questing through the water far ahead of the small head at its end. This is the long-necked sea reptile, the gentle swan of the Jurassic Ocean, and it flies through the warm water on its four slow wings with a grace that holds the eye and will not let it go. It feeds as it flies, the long neck reaching out into the schools of small fish, the small head darting, plucking, the slender jaws closing on one fish and then another, while the great body glides serenely on below. There is no violence in it, only a patient, endless harvest. The long neck doing the hunting while the broad body does the travelling, much as the giants' long necks did the grazing while their great bodies stood still upon the plain. The sea has found the same answer the land found. Let the neck do the reaching. Let the body simply be. And so the long-necked swimmer flies slowly through the warm green light, reaching and gliding, in no hurry at all to fill itself. You drift after it a while, weightless in its slow wake, and the warm sea carries you both. The light comes down in long, wavering shafts, the same soft gold that fell through the forest canopy, broken here by the moving surface instead of the moving leaves, and where it strikes the pale bottom, it gathers into bright dancing patches that shift and slide without end. Small fish hang in the shafts. Coiled swimmers drift across them. The long-necked reptile flies through them, its pale flippers beating slow, and the whole scene is so quiet and so slow and so full of gentle light that to watch it is to feel the last of your wakefulness loosen and begin to drift away like silt stirred from the bottom and slowly settling. Then the light dims, all at once, as though a cloud had crossed the sun, and you look up, and the greatest creature you have yet seen is passing overhead. It is a fish, but a fish beyond all reckoning, longer than the longest of the land giants, its vast pale body blotting out the surface as it glides slowly by. And yet there is nothing to fear in it, for this giant is the gentlest creature in all the sea. Its enormous mouth hangs open as it swims, not to seize but to strain, filtering the warm water through a great mesh of fine rakes, gathering the tiny drifting life by the countless million, feeding on the smallest things in the sea with the largest body in it. It moves with a slowness that befits its size, the huge tail sweeping in long unhurried beats, the great body rolling gently, the open mouth straining the rich water as it goes. Small fish swim along beside it and beneath it, sheltering in its great shadow, riding its slow bow wave, and it suffers them all with the same vast indifference. The land giants showed the young that sheltered beneath their feet. It is a mountain of a fish, drifting through the bright shallows, harming nothing, eating only the uncountable tiny, and the sight of something so enormous, moving so gently and so harmlessly through the warm green water, is one of the deepest pieces this old sea has to offer. You hang in the water beneath it as it passes, in the cool of its great shadow, and then the shadow slides on and the warm light returns, and the giant fish glides away into the green distance, slow and pale and immense, until the haze of the water swallows it, and it is gone. The small fish that sheltered beneath it scatter and reform. The coiled swimmers drift on. The long-necked reptile flies its slow circuits through the upper water, and the warm sea returns to its endless gentle motion, as though the passing of a creature so vast were nothing at all, only another slow event in a world made entirely of slow events. The bottom slopes away below you now, the pale sand giving way to deeper blue, the warm bright shallows falling off toward the deeper water beyond. The light grows softer there and dimmer, and the creatures fewer and stranger. You hang at the edge of the shallows, at the lip of the deeper sea, and feel the cool of it rising from below, the deep, slow cold of the water that the sun never fully reaches. It is quieter still down there, and darker, and there moves through it the largest hunter of all this drowned bright world, a presence so great and so calm that to meet it is to feel the whole sea grow still around it, wade out deeper, until the warm water rises to your waist and then your chest, and then, without any fear, closes gently over your head, for here in the dream you can breathe the water as easily as the air, and the warm green sea takes you in and holds you weightless in its slow, bright current. The light comes down from the surface in long moving shafts, gold turning to green, turning to deep blue as you sink, and all around you the life of the warm shallows drifts and turns and shimmers. Schools of small silver fish wheel as one body, flashing and darkening, and the sun lies in long nets of light across the rippled sand below, and the whole sea is a slow cathedral of moving light and quiet drifting life. A shape comes toward you out of the blue, swift and smooth and unafraid, and you see that it is shaped almost exactly like a dolphin. though no dolphin will swim these seas for 150 million years. It is a fish lizard, a smooth grey hunter of the open water, with a long-toothed snout and a great dark eye and a body built for speed, and it cuts through the water beside you with an easy flickering grace, hunting the schools of fish and the darting squid. Then it angles upward, up toward the bright ceiling of the surface, and breaks through into the air above in a smooth silver arc. For it must breathe as you must breathe, and you hear the soft gasp of it taking air, and then it slips back down into the blue and is gone, swift and serene about its quiet hunting. Below you, in the deeper green, a stranger shape moves, a great pale body, broad and barrel-round, driven by 4 long wing-like flippers that beat the water slowly, gracefully, the way a seabird beats the air, and rising from that round body, a neck of extraordinary length, slender and curving, and crowned with a small, mild head that swings this way and that through the water, plucking fish from the schools with delicate snaps of its many-toothed jaws. It is a long-necked sea dragon, vast and gentle, and it flies through the water on its 4 slow wings with a grace that holds you still to watch it, the long neck weaving, the great flippers rising and falling, the whole serene, enormous creature soaring through the blue as a thing soars through a dream. And then, out of the deep blue distance, the largest shape of all draws near, so large that at first you take it for a moving wall of shadow, for a current of the dark itself. It is a fish, but a fish grown to a size that beggars belief, longer than 3 of the long-necked dragons laid nose to tail, and it comes toward you with its huge mouth open, and for a moment the old animal part of you flinches, but there is nothing to fear. The vast mouth gapes not to seize but to sieve. The giant is a filterer, a gentle gatherer of the smallest life, and it cruises slowly through the rich warm water, with its great mouth open, straining the drifting clouds of tiny creatures from the sea, harming nothing larger than a mote. It passes you by, slow as a drifting island, its huge dark eye regarding you mildly, and the wash of its passing rocks you gently in the warm water, and then it is gone on into the blue, the greatest and most peaceable creature in all the sea. You hang there weightless in the green light for a long while after it is gone, rocked by the slow swell, watching the nets of sunlight slide across the sand, watching the silver schools wheel and the ammonites drift, and the shafts of gold lean down through the blue. There is no weight here. There is no effort here. The warm sea holds you up as the warm air held you on the plain, and asks nothing of you, and you float in it as easily as a thought floats through a drowsing mind, turning slowly, sinking and rising with the breath of the swell, given over wholly to the soft suspension of the warm, bright sea. Far below, where the green goes down into a deeper blue, where the shafts of light grow thin and the warmth begins to fade toward the cool of the depths, something very large moves slowly along the floor of the world. You cannot see it clearly yet, only sense it, a slow, dark patience down in the dimness, the master of these waters going about its unhurried rounds. There is no fear in the sensing. Here, you have learned, even the great hunters move slowly, and even the deep keeps its own kind of peace. Do not be afraid to go down to it. We have met the great hunter of the land, and found it patient and unhurried, and the great hunter of the sea is no different, a vast, slow sovereign of the deeper water, killing rarely and resting often, spending its long life in the calm, cold dark below the bright and busy shallows. There is nothing here that can reach you. There never has been. And there is a deep and particular peace in the cool, dim water of the deeper sea, the peace of the depths, the peace of the dark, that we will sink into now, slowly, weightless, letting the warm, bright shallows rise away above us as we drift down into the calm. Let yourself sink. The deep is gentle. Let it take you down. You sink slowly into the deeper water, and the bright, warm shallows rise away above you, and the world grows cool and dim and blue. The light still reaches here, but softened, filtered, drained of its gold, so that everything wears the same deep, even blue, the blue of evening, the blue of the hour, between waking and sleep. The pale sand of the shallows is far behind and above you now. Below you the bottom falls away into shadow, and around you the open water stretches dim and cool and vast, and the busy multitudes of the shallows have thinned to a few slow drifting shapes in the blue. It is quieter here than anywhere you have been. The deep water holds sound the way deep snow holds it, swallowing it, softening it, so that the faint hum of the sea grows fainter still, and a great hush settles over everything, a hush with weight to it, a hush you can feel against your skin. The cool of the deeper water moves over you, gentle, even, the warmth of the shallows fading from your body as you sink, replaced by a coolness that is not cold, only deep, only still, the coolness of a cellar, of a cave, of the inside of the earth. Down here the creatures are larger and fewer and slower. The small schooling fish do not come this deep. Instead, the water holds the great drifting swimmers, the ones built for the dim cold patience of the depths, and they pass through the blue in ones and twos, unhurried, their pale forms appearing slowly out of the haze and slowly vanishing back into it. A fish lizard with eyes grown even larger for the dimness rolls past in the middle distance, hunting the deep water by the last of the light. A coiled swimmer the size of a wheel drifts by, its pearly shell gone grey in the blue gloom. Everything moves slowly here. The deep does not permit haste. And then the sovereign comes. You feel it before you see it. A change in the water, a pressure, a sense of something vast displacing the sea ahead of you. And then it resolves out of the blue haze, slowly, enormously, and you understand that you are in the presence of the largest hunter in all this drowned world. It is a sea reptile, but built on a scale that dwarfs the graceful, long-necked swimmers of the shallows. A short, thick, powerful neck, a body like the hull of a ship, and a head longer than your whole body, armed with jaws that could close around one of the smaller sea reptiles entire. It moves on 4 great flippers, like the long-necked ones, but where they rode delicately, this one drives itself through the water with slow, tremendous power, each beat of the great flippers sending it gliding forward many lengths, the whole vast body barely seeming to flex. It is built for the long patrol. The patient cruise through the deep water in search of prey, and it moves through its dim, cold kingdom with the absolute, unhurried confidence of a creature that has nothing in all the sea to fear. It is the top of the deep, the sovereign of the cold blue water, and it knows it, in whatever way such a creature knows anything, and its knowing is a deep and perfect calm. Watch it pass, and do not be afraid. It is hunting, in the slow way of the deep, but it is not hunting you, for you are only a dream adrift in its world, and it does not see you at all. It is reading the water with senses you do not have, feeling for the movement of prey across the dim distances, the faint disturbance of a swimming body, the trace of a creature in distress. And most of the time it finds nothing, and most of the time it simply cruises on, patient, slow, conserving the great furnace of its strength for the rare moment when the water tells it that a meal is near. Even the sovereign of the deep spends its life mostly in patient, empty patrol. Its eye, as it glides by, is small for its great head, and dark and unreadable, set to watch the dim water for the small betrayals of prey. There is no malice in it. There is no cruelty in it. There is only the deep old hunger that drives all the hunters of the world, land and sea alike. The simple need to eat that is no one's fault and no one's choice. The oldest engine of the living world. The sovereign kills to live, cleanly, rarely, and without anger, and it spends the rest of its long life exactly as you see it now, cruising the cold blue deep in patient solitary calm. You drift in its slow wake as it passes, and the calm of it spreads through the water and through you. There is something in the presence of such an animal, so vast and so unhurried and so utterly without fear, that quiets everything around it. The smaller creatures of the deep do not flee it in panic. They simply give it room, drifting aside as it passes, the way the smaller browsers gave room to the land hunter at the river. There is an order to it, an ancient settled order, in which the great hunter takes its place at the top without strife, and the world arranges itself calmly around its passage, and the deep goes on being deep and cold and still. The sovereign cruises on into the blue distance, slowly, its great pale form dimming as the water swallows it, until at last it is only a suggestion in the haze, a deeper shadow in the deep blue, and then it is gone, and the cold, quiet water closes behind it, and the deep returns to its great hush. You hang alone in the dim blue, weightless, cool, held in the vast, soft silence of the deeper sea, and there is a peace here at the bottom of the bright world that is the deepest peace of all, the peace of the depths, the peace of the cool and quiet dark. Rest here a while, suspended in the cool blue calm, There is no floor beneath you and no surface above you that you need to reach. The water holds you, even and cool and still, and the last soft light comes down from far above, dimmed almost to nothing, and the great hush of the deep presses gently in on every side. Your breath is slow. Your weight is gone. The cares of the bright loud world above have all drained away into the deep cool quiet, and there is nothing left in all the wide sea but stillness and coolness and the soft blue dark. Down you sink toward it, slowly, weightless, through the cooling water, and the light fades from gold to green to a deep and shadowed blue, and the warmth of the shallows is left far above. Here the water is dim and still and immense, and the shape that moves through it is the largest hunter the seas of this whole age will ever know. It is a sea dragon of a different order, not the long-necked gentle kind, but a thing built wholly for the taking of great prey, with a body like the hull of a ship, and 4 mighty flippers, and a head alone as long as a tall man is high, a head filled with teeth the size of daggers set in jaws that could close upon almost anything that swims. It moves through the dim water with a slow and absolute authority, and the whole deep seems to hold its breath around it. And yet, watching it, you feel no terror, only a kind of awe, the clean, cold awe you might feel watching a mountain or a moving storm. For the great hunter is not raging through the deep. It is patrolling it, slowly, with the same unhurried economy you saw in the resting hunter on the plain. Its enormous flippers rise and fall in long, slow strokes, driving the great body forward at a walking pace, and the dark eye turns this way and that through the dimness, missing nothing, hurrying after nothing. It has no need of haste. Nothing in this sea can flee it that it truly wants, and so it wants slowly, hunts seldom, and spends the long blue hours of its life in this same measured patrol, the sovereign of the deep moving through its dim domain. The smaller life of the sea knows it is there, and parts before it, and closes again behind. The schools of fish drift wide of its path. The swift fish lizards keep to the brighter water above. Even the long-necked dragons, vast as they are, angle away into the green distance when the great shape draws near, for they are prey to it, and they know the old cold rule of the deep. But there is no panic in any of this, no thrashing flight, only a slow and ancient courtesy, a giving of room, a quiet rearrangement of the whole moving sea around the passage of its master. And the master takes no notice, asks nothing, only moves on through the dimness on its slow great rounds, patient as the tide. You drift alongside it for a time, matched to its slow pace, close enough to see the old scars seamed across its flank, the barnacles crusting the leading edges of its flippers, the slow blink of the great dark eye. It is very old, this sovereign, and it has ruled the deep a long time, and there is in its unhurried movement the deep weariless patience of a thing that has nothing left to prove and nothing left to fear. It does not hurry because it has never needed to hurry. It does not rage because it has never needed to rage. Its power is so complete that it wears it lightly, the way the truly strong are gentle, and to swim beside it in the dim blue is to feel that even here, even at the cold heart of the deep, there is a kind of peace, the heavy settled peace of absolute and unchallenged calm. Then the great hunter, too, begins to slow. The long strokes of the flippers lengthen and ease. The huge body sinks a little lower toward the dim floor of the world, where the cold water lies still and undisturbed, and the great head lowers, and the dark eye half closes, and the sovereign of the deep settles toward the bottom to rest. As the hunter on the plain settled into the shade, as the giant settled among the ferns, as everything in this whole old world settles at last into stillness and rest. Even the master of the sea must sleep. Even the deep grows quiet, and the great shape comes to rest on the dim floor and grows still, and its slow breathing eases, and the immense and patient calm of it spreads out through the cold blue water all around. For a long while you hang there in the dimness, near the resting giant, and the deep is utterly silent and utterly still, and the last faint shafts of green light wander down from the far bright surface and lose themselves in the blue before they reach the floor. There is nothing fearful here. There is nothing here at all but cold, clear water, and slow great sleeping shapes and the deep abiding quiet of the sea's own heart, and you feel your own thoughts slowing to match the stillness, growing dim and soft and far apart, sinking gently toward the floor of your own mind, the way the great hunter has sunk toward the floor of the sea. The cold of the deep is not a cruel cold. It is only the deep-settled coolness of water that the sun has never warmed, still and dense and changeless, the same in this hour as it was 1,000 years ago, and will be 1,000 years hence. There are no seasons here. There is no day or night here, only the slow fading of the green light from above into the blue and the blue into the black, and the great calm pressure of the water holding everything close and slow and still. Sound carries far and strange in the deep, the distant groan of the moving water, the faint far click and pulse of living things, and the slow even rhythm of the sovereign's own passage, and you drift in that dim, cool quiet, wholly at peace, held by the deep as the sky holds a star. Time moves differently down here, slower even than on the slow, warm plain above. The sovereign has patrolled these waters for longer than you can think, and will patrol them long after this evening is forgotten, and in its unhurried movement there is the whole vast patience of the deep itself, which is in no hurry to do anything, ever, and never has been. To match your drifting to its slow great rhythm is to step out of all hurry entirely, to feel the frantic quickness of the waking world fall away, and a deeper, older, slower time take its place, the time of the deep water and the patient stone, in which a single slow stroke of a great flipper may be all that happens in a long and perfect while. And that is enough, and that is everything, but the dream will not leave you in the depths. Slowly, gently, it begins to lift you, up out of the cool blue toward the warm bright surface far above, and as you rise the light returns, gold seeping back into the blue, the warmth returning to the water, the busy life of the shallows gathering again around you. Up you rise, slowly, weightless, through the warming water, toward the silver ceiling of the surface, toward the air and the light and the long Jurassic evening waiting above, for the day is ending once more, up in the bright world, and the sky above the lagoons is filling with wings, and there are creatures of the air to meet before the dark comes down. Rise gently toward the light, and break the surface, and let the warm evening air receive you. You break the surface into the warm evening air, and the whole sky is full of wings. Above the lagoons, in the long gold light of the declining sun, the leather-winged fliers are wheeling and gliding in their dozens, riding the warm air that rises off the shallow water, tilting and turning on wings that span far wider than their small bodies, hunting the surface of the sea as the day comes gently to its close. The air is alive with them, and yet they make almost no sound, only the occasional soft rush of a wing tilting into a turn, the faint hiss of air across a membrane, the small splash of a catch taken from the water. Watch one come gliding low across the lagoon, and see how it is made. Its wings are not feathered. They are membranes, sheets of living skin stretched taut between an enormously lengthened finger and the side of the body, and down along the legs, so that each wing is a single great curved sail of skin, thin and strong and shot through with fine fibres that hold its shape and fine vessels that keep it alive. When the light comes through the wing from behind, you can see all of this, the delicate architecture within the membrane, the lines of the fibres, the branching of the vessels, the whole living machinery of the wing glowing amber in the low sun, the flyer banks, tilting one wing down and one wing up, and the turn is so smooth and so controlled that it seems to cost the animal nothing at all. It is reading the air, feeling the rising warmth above the water, the sinking cool above the sand, the small shifting currents and eddies of the evening breeze, and it adjusts to all of them moment by moment with the fine sensitive surface of its great wings, far more sensitive to the air than any feathered wing could be. It does not so much fly through the air as belong to it, sensing it, riding it, a part of the moving sky rather than a thing fighting its way across it. Some of these flyers are small, no larger than a gull, quick and nimble, darting after the insects that rise off the lagoons in the evening. Some are larger, with long narrow wings built for the patient gliding patrol, and these hang almost motionless on the rising air, scanning the water below, dropping suddenly to skim the surface and snatch a fish, before rising again to glide on. And among them are the long-tailed ones, with a stiff, slender tail trailing behind them ending in a small vein, like the flight of an arrow, which they use to steer their sharp, quick turns above the water. Each kind has its own way of flying, its own corner of the evening sky, and the air over the lagoons holds them all. One comes to rest on a dead snag leaning out over the water, folding its great wings with a careful, deliberate motion, drawing the long wing finger in against its body so that the membrane gathers and folds away, until the animal that was all wing a moment ago is suddenly small and compact, and almost ordinary, perched on the bare branch, looking out over the lagoon with bright, watchful eyes. On the ground, on a perch, the fliers are awkward, folded, earthbound things. It is only in the air that they become what they truly are. And as the evening light pours gold across the lagoons, more and more of them are coming home to the snags and the shoreline rocks to roost, folding their wings, settling for the night, the great wheeling cloud of them slowly thinning as the dark draws near. The fishing is good in the evening, when the small fish rise toward the cooling surface, and the last fliers still aloft are making the most of it, gliding low and patient across the lagoons, dropping to skim the water, rising with their small silver catches. There is a great calm skill in it, the low glide, the sudden drop, the catch taken cleanly without the flyer even seeming to slow, the smooth rise back into the gliding patrol. It is fishing as a kind of flight, fishing without effort or violence, the long, warm evening spent riding the soft air above the bright water and taking what the sea offers up. You could watch it for hours, the slow wheeling and the gentle dropping, and feel no tension in any of it, only the deep calm of skill at its ease. The sun sinks toward the level horizon of the sea, and the light goes from gold to amber to a deep and glowing rose, and the lagoons catch fire with it, the still water burning with the colours of the sky. Against that burning water the last fliers wheel in black silhouette, their great wings spread, banking and turning in the dying light, and then one by one they come home to roost, and the sky empties slowly, and the burning fades from the lagoons, and the deep blue of evening comes down over the coast. The first stars prick through above the darkening sea. The day is ending, here at the edge of the warm, shallow ocean, as gently as it ended on the plain. Along the shoreline the fliers settle for the night, folded and still on their perches, packed together on the snags and the rocks above the lapping water. They tuck their long heads in, they draw their wings close, they grow still, and the watchful brightness goes out of their eyes, and they give themselves to the dark and the rest, the same as the giants and the hunter and the plated wanderer gave themselves to it far away across the night on the plain. The whole world is settling, land and sea and air alike, all its many creatures folding themselves down into the dark at the close of another long day. You stand on the pale shore in the last of the light, and the warm evening air moves softly off the sea, carrying the smell of salt and reed and warm water, and the small waves slide up the sand and slide back with their endless gentle sigh. The roosting fliers grow still above you. The stars come out one by one over the darkening sea. The day creatures yield, all of them, to the rest the dark will bring, and a great quiet gathers along the shore, the quiet of the world at evening, the quiet that draws the body down towards sleep. When you rise again into the warm bright shallows and lift your face at last above the water, the light has changed. The fierce gold of the afternoon has softened toward the amber of the early evening, and the sun hangs low and red above the sea, laying a long, burning road of light across the water toward the shore. And there, against that reddening sky, the air is full of wings. They wheel and bank and glide above the lagoon in their dozens, the flying dragons of this world, the pterosaurs, out to fish the rich shallows in the long, slow light of the day's end. You wade toward the shore to watch them, and the warm water curls about your legs, and overhead the great membraned wings cross and recross the burning sky. They are not birds. There are no birds yet, or almost none, and these masters of the Jurassic air are something stranger and older, reptiles that learned the sky long ages past. Each wing is a single great membrane of living skin, stretched taut from the ankle to the impossibly long fourth finger that frames its leading edge, so that the whole animal seems to fly upon two vast thin hands. The bodies between the wings are small and light, the bones within them hollow as reeds filled with air, so that a creature with the wingspan of a small boat may weigh no more than a large cat. They are built of almost nothing, these fliers, of skin and air and the most slender struts of bone, and the warm evening air bears them up as easily as it bears the drifting motes of dust in the last light. Watch one come in to fish. It glides low across the lagoon on stiff outstretched wings, its long head down, its eyes fixed on the bright water, riding the warm air that rises off the shallows with hardly a movement of the wings at all. Then, at the last moment, It dips its long beak into the surface, and snatches, and lifts away again with a small silver fish flashing in its jaws, and tilts, and banks, and climbs back into the reddening sky, swallowing as it goes. It does this again and again, tireless, unhurried, each pass a long, smooth curve of flight ending in that one quick, certain snatch, and to watch it is to feel the deep ease of a thing doing exactly what it was made to do, perfectly, and without the smallest effort. On the pale cliffs above the lagoon, the colony roosts and waits its turn at the fishing. Hundreds of them cling there to the warm rock in the last of the light, wings folded down along their sides into neat narrow bundles, and they preen and shuffle and call to one another in thin, high voices that carry out across the water. From time to time one launches itself from the cliff, dropping a moment into the air before the great wings open and catch and lift it out across the lagoon, and another, returning full, swings up to the rock and folds its wings and settles among the rest. There is a slow, constant traffic between the cliff and the water, a coming and going as easy and unhurried as breath, all of it bathed in the deep red gold of the lowering sun. The warm air itself does much of their flying for them. Where the day's heat still rises off the sun-warmed rock and the shallow water, the fliers find the rising columns and lean into them and circle slowly upward, spiralling higher and higher on motionless wings, carried aloft by the warmth of the world without a single wing beat, until they hang as small dark crosses high against the burning sky. Then they peel away from the top of the rising air and set their wings and glide, long and slow and shallow, sliding down the evening sky across half the lagoon before they find another column of warmth and circle up again. It is a flight built entirely of patience and warmth and the shape of the air, a flight that costs them almost nothing, and they could ride the evening sky this way for hours, and on the long calm evenings of this gentle world, they do. You stand at the edge of the warm lagoon as the sun sinks lower, and you tilt your head back and watch them wheel, the dark crossing shapes against the deepening red, the slow spirals, the long shallow glides, the easy endless traffic of wings between the cliff and the water. The light is going slowly out of the sky. The fishing is winding down. One by one the fliers come in from the lagoon and beat heavily up to the warm rock and fold their great wings and settle for the night, until only a few late stragglers still ride the last of the rising air, and then they too peel off and glide in to roost, and the sky above the lagoon empties and goes quiet and fills with the first faint stars. But before the dark comes fully down, look once more toward the dark line of the forest behind you, where the trees come close to the water's edge. For there, among the branches, in the last grey light, something small is stirring that is neither quite a reptile nor quite a bird, something that carries in its strange body the secret of a whole new way of being in the world. It is worth going to see. Before the night closes in, there is just light enough left and no hurry at all. On the warm rock of the cliff the colony murmurs and shifts in the last of the light, a constant soft commotion of thin, high voices, of wings unfolding and refolding, of the small jostling and resettling of hundreds of roosting bodies finding their places for the night. Now and then a brief dispute flares between near neighbours, a clatter of beaks, a hiss, a half-spread wing, and then subsides as quickly as it came, and the soft murmur closes over it again. There is a deep homeliness in the sound of many creatures settling together in a safe high place at the end of the day, and it drifts down across the lagoon to where you stand, faint and companionable, mingling with the lap of the water and the last cries of the late fishers coming home. But there is one more kind of creature to meet before we let the dark come fully down, and it is the strangest and most quietly important of them all. Far back inland, in the conifer forests at the edge of the lagoons, in the high branches where the last light still lingers, a small feathered creature is settling for the night, a creature that is not quite a flyer, and not quite a runner, that wears true feathers and bears true wings, and yet belongs wholly to neither earth nor sky. It is a small thing, easily overlooked, and yet within it the whole future of the air is quietly folded, waiting. Come back inland with me, gently, through the warm dark, toward the high branches where the feathered secret sleeps. The forest at the edge of the lagoons is different from the deep dark forest of the inland plain. It is lighter, more open, the conifers spaced more widely, with broad clearings where the cycads grow thick and low, and the warm sea air moves through it, salt and soft, The last light of the long evening still lingers in the higher branches here, a deep amber glow caught in the crowns of the trees, while the forest floor below has already gone to shadow. And it is up in that lingering light, on a high branch overlooking the darkening lagoon, that the feathered creature sits. It is small, no larger than a crow, and at first glance you might take it for a bird, for it is covered in true feathers, long and layered and beautifully formed, and it has wings, real wings, fringed with the long flight feathers that a bird would know. But look closer, and the bird-likeness comes apart. There are teeth in its small jaws, fine and sharp, where a bird would have only a beak. There are claws, 3 of them, on the leading edge of each wing, where a bird would have only the smooth curve of the wing's edge, and behind it trails a long bony tail, feathered along both sides, where a bird would have only a short fan of feathers. It is a creature caught exactly halfway between 2 worlds, half dinosaur, half bird, belonging fully to neither. This is the feathered secret of the Jurassic, the small creature in which the whole future of the air is quietly taking shape. It is descended from the small running hunters of the forest floor, the quick feathered ones you glimpsed by the cold stream long ago, and it has carried their feathers up into the trees and begun, slowly, across uncountable generations, to turn them to a new use. The feathers came first for warmth, to hold the heat close to a small, quick body in the cool of the forest. Then they served for display, for the bright, bold patterns by which one creature knows and courts another. And only now, last of all, are they beginning to serve for flight. For this creature can fly, after a fashion, though not as the leather-winged ones fly. It cannot hang motionless on the rising air or wheel for hours above the lagoon. Its flight is shorter, clumsier, more like a long controlled leap than a true and soaring flight. It launches from a high branch and spreads its feathered wings and glides down across the clearing, flapping hard, losing height, and lands at last on a lower branch or on the ground, having crossed a gap it could never have crossed by leaping alone. It is flight in its infancy, flight only just begun, the first faltering use of a tool that will one day carry feathered creatures to every corner of every sky in every age to come. Watch it move through the high branches in the last amber light. It is quick and light and balanced, running along the limbs on its small clawed feet, using the claws on its wings to grip and clamber where the branches grow close, pausing to look about with sharp, bright, sidelong glances. It is hunting the insects that gather in the high leaves at evening, snapping them up with its small toothed jaws, and now and then it spreads its wings and makes one of its short gliding flights to a new tree, a new branch, a new patch of evening hunting. There is nothing grand in it. It is only a small feathered creature going about its small evening business in the treetops, and yet you are watching the beginning of the birds. It is strange to think how much will come from this small overlooked thing. Out on the plain the giants tower, the largest creatures the land has ever held, and the great hunter walks beneath them, and the plated wanderer grazes the ferns, and all of them seem so much more important than this crow-sized creature gliding clumsily between the trees. And yet it is this small one, this feathered halfway thing, whose line will outlast them all. Long after the giants are gone, long after the great hunters and the plated wanderers and the leather-winged fliers have all vanished from the world, the descendants of this small creature will still be singing in the trees of every continent, the last living dinosaurs, carrying the old Jurassic line unbroken into ages it could never imagine. But that is the deep future. Now it only hunts the evening insects, all unknowing, in the last of the amber light. Below the tree where it hunts, the lagoon lies still and dark and salt, and there is a quiet importance to this place too, though no creature here could know it. For the lagoons of this coast are very still and very salt, so still and so salt that nothing lives in their deepest water, and anything that falls into them sinks gently to the bottom and is covered, slowly, by the finest pale mud, and lies there undisturbed, perfectly, for an unimaginable span of time. When a flyer dies above the lagoon and falls, when a feather drifts down from a high branch, when even so small a thing as an insect settles onto the still surface and sinks, the lagoon receives it and keeps it, every fine detail preserved, every feather and bone and delicate impression held in the pale mud against the deep future. So it may be that this very creature, this small feathered halfway thing, hunting in the high branches above the still lagoon, will one day fall and sink and be kept, and that across 150 million years its small body will lie in the hardening stone with every feather still in place. The long flight feathers, the fringe along the tail, the small toothed jaws, all of it held perfectly in the pale rock for far future hands to find and marvel at. The world is making its memory here, in the still salt mud of the lagoons, as patiently and as quietly as it makes everything. And one of the memories it is making is the memory of the dawn of flight. The amber light fades from even the highest branches now, and the forest goes to shadow, and the feathered creature makes its last, short, gliding flight of the day. From the high hunting branch down to a sheltered roost deep in the crown of a conifer, close against the trunk where the night wind cannot reach it. There it settles, drawing its feathered wings in close, tucking its small head beneath the cover of a wing, fluffing its feathers out around itself into a soft warm ball against the coming cool of the night. The feathers that may one day carry its kind across the sky serve tonight their first and oldest purpose, holding the warmth close, keeping the small body snug through the long dark hours. It grows still, and its bright eyes close, and it gives itself to sleep, the small feathered secret of the Jurassic, dreaming whatever small dreams such creatures dream, high in the dark crown of a conifer above the still salt lagoon. And all around it, across the whole wide darkening world, the same surrender is happening, the same settling, the same giving over to the dark. The giants drowse on the distant plain. The hunter sleeps at the forest's edge. The plated wanderer rests among the ferns. The sea reptiles cruise slow and dim through the cooling water. The leather-winged fliers roost along the shore, and the small feathered one sleeps in the high branches, and the whole great world sleeps with it beneath the gathering stars. In the low branches at the forest's edge, in the soft grey light between the day and the dark, a small creature sits and preens itself, and you come close, quietly, to see it, for it is one of the most precious things in all this ancient world. It is about the size of a raven, and at first glance you might take it for a small lithe reptile, for it has a long bony tail and a mouthful of tiny teeth and clawed fingers on its forelimbs. But over that reptile body lies something miraculous, something that catches the last light and holds it. Feathers. True feathers, soft and veined and overlapping, cloaking the body in warmth, fringing the long forelimbs and the bony tail into broad, flat fans. It is a creature caught exactly halfway across the Great Divide, half dragon and half bird, and it is the living hinge on which a whole future of the world will turn. It does not fly the way the pterosaurs fly, easily and endlessly. Its flight is a newer, rougher, more uncertain thing. Watch as it launches from its branch. It does not soar so much as flap and glide and tumble, a flurry of beating feathered limbs carrying it in a long shallow swoop down to a lower branch a little way off, where it lands awkwardly and grips the wood with its clawed feet and folds its imperfect wings. It is not a master of the air. It is a beginner in the air, a small experiment in feathered flight, still finding out what its strange new body can do. But the feathers work. The glide carries, and in that clumsy swooping passage from branch to branch lies the seed of every wing that will ever cross the sky in all the long ages still to come. Look closely at the feathers in the failing light, for they are the wonder and the mystery of the creature. They did not begin as wings. The first feathers, on the small running dinosaurs that came before this one, were not for flight at all, but for warmth. Soft, downy coats to hold the heat of a quick, warm-blooded body against the chill of the night. And then, perhaps, for show, fans and crests and bright displays by which one small dinosaur might dazzle another. Only slowly, across long uncounted generations, did the warm soft coat lengthen and stiffen and broaden along the arms, until one day a small feathered runner, leaping after an insect, found that its feathered arms caught the air and carried it a little farther than its legs alone could throw it. And so flight was born, sideways, by accident, out of warmth and display, the way so many of the world's great inventions are born. The lagoon below the forest is very still now in the gathering dusk, a sheet of pale water holding the last light of the sky, so calm that not a ripple stirs it. It is a quiet, still lagoon of a particular and fateful kind, its deep water poor in air, its floor a soft white lime, untouched by burrowing things, and now and then through the long ages a creature of the air or the shallows will fall into it and sink, and lie undisturbed upon that soft white floor and be covered, gently, grain by grain, by the slow drifting lime, and be kept perfectly, kept whole, so that 150 million years from now, in this very place, a hand will split the pale stone and find within it the print of a small feathered creature exactly such as this one, every feather sharp and clear in the rock, a message sent across an ocean of time from this one still grey evening at the edge of the world. It is a strange and gentle thought to hold, here in the dusk, watching the small feathered creature settle for the night, that nothing here is truly lost, that the stillness of this one quiet lagoon is patiently saving the shape of this one small life, and the print of a fallen feather, and the curl of an ammonite, and the track of a giant pressed once into a drying mudflat, saving them all in the soft white stone against the unimaginable distance of the years, so that minds not yet dreamed of may one day look upon them, and know that this warm green world was real, that the giants walked, that the small bird thing swooped from branch to branch in the grey evening light. The world remembers itself, it writes itself down in stone, and nothing that has truly been can ever wholly cease to be. The little feathered creature tucks its head beneath the warm fan of one wing and grows still upon its branch, one more small sleeping shape in a world settling everywhere into sleep. Somewhere far ahead, in a morning 100 million years and more from this one, the descendants of this small swooping experiment will fill the dawn with song, will pour their voices into the first light of 1,000 mornings, will be the very sound of waking in a greener, gentler age. But that dawn chorus is unthinkably far off, and the creature that carries its seed is only a small drowsy thing asleep in a tree at the edge of an ancient lagoon, and the dark is coming down, softly, over it and over you and over all the wide and quieting world. Come away now from the high branches, gently, down through the darkening forest and out toward the open country, for the dark is coming down at last over the whole of this old world, and it is a thing worth seeing whole. The day we have followed, from the grey dawn on the fern plain through the bright hot noon and the long gold evening, is ending now in every corner of the world at once, on the plain and in the forest, and along the coast and beneath the sea, and the great Jurassic night is rising over all of it together. Let us go out under the open sky and watch the dark come down, and the stars come out, over a sleeping world. The dark comes down over the old world the way it always does, not all at once, but in long, slow stages, the light withdrawing by degrees, the colours fading one by one. First to go is the gold, then the amber, then the rose, until only a deep glowing blue remains low in the west where the sun went down, and that too thins and fades, and the blue climbs slowly toward black, and the first stars, which have been waiting all along, come out into the deepening sky. The whole world holds its breath through this turning of the light, this quiet daily miracle, the passage from the bright world into the dark one. Out on the fern plain the giants have drawn together for the night, the great herd gathered into a loose protective ring, the adults on the outside, the young within. They stand to sleep, as they must, swaying gently, their long necks lowered and curved back along their bodies, their great eyes half closed. Now and then one shifts its weight, or lifts its head to test the dark air, or sounds a low rolling note that travels through the ground to its neighbours, a quiet reassurance passed from giant to giant through the night. They will pass the dark hours so, half waking, half dreaming, a circle of slow mountains under the stars. At the forest's edge the great hunter sleeps on its low rise of dry ground, its head resting on the earth, its long tail curled along its side, its breathing slow and deep. The watchfulness has gone out of it entirely now. In sleep it is only a large and tired animal, harmless, peaceful, its great jaws closed, its yellow eyes shut, dreaming whatever dreams a hunter dreams. The terror it carries by day has dissolved into the dark, and there is nothing fearful about it now, only the same surrender to rest that holds every other creature in the sleeping world. The plated wanderer rests among the ferns where it lay down, its sails settled, its spiked tail curled in, its small head lowered. The leather-winged fliers roost folded along the distant shore. The sea reptiles cruise slow and dim through the cooling water, or rest suspended in the deep, or rise gently to the dark surface to breathe before sinking again. The small feathered ones sleep fluffed in the high branches, and the small warm mammals, who slept all through the bright day, are awake now and abroad in the dark, hunting the leaf litter on quick, quiet feet, living their brief, bright, nightly freedom while the great reptiles sleep. The night sounds are different from the day sounds, softer and stranger and more spread out. The day's steady hum of insects has given way to the slower pulse of the night singers, a deep chorus of creaks and cheers that rises and falls across the plain. Now and then comes the deep, distant call of a giant, lonely and immense in the dark. Somewhere a night creature rustles through the ferns. The river murmurs on, unchanged, as it murmurs through every hour of day and night alike. And beneath all of it lies the great soft silence of the dark, the silence the small sounds only deepen, the vast and patient silence of a world at rest. Above it all the stars have come out in their full, uncountable multitude, more stars than any sky you have ever seen, for there is no glow of cities here, no haze of distant light, nothing between the dark plain and the deep universe but the clear night air. The whole great band of the galaxy arches across the sky from horizon to horizon, a river of soft light, a million suns gathered into a pale glowing road, and beneath it the sleeping world lies dark and still. The same stars, more or less, that you might find if you walked out beneath a truly dark sky in your own age, the same patient ancient light, falling now on the fern plains and the warm seas of a world 150 million years before you were born. There is no moon tonight, or only the thinnest pairing of one, low and setting, so that the dark is deep and the stars are bright, and the sleeping shapes of the giants stand black against the glowing sky. The cool of the night has settled fully over the plain now, a gentle cool, the warm day's heat slowly releasing back into the clear dark air. The dew is beginning to gather again on the ferns, the same dew you watched burn away at dawn, returning now, in the cool of the dark, to bead the fronds, and weigh them down and wait for the morning that will burn it away once more. The world breathes out its heat, and draws in the cool, and turns slowly beneath the wheeling stars. You lie back upon the soft, dark earth at the edge of the sleeping plain, and look up into the great glowing depth of the sky, and the slow turning of it draws your thoughts up and out and away. The stars wheel, so slowly you cannot see them move, and yet they move, the whole vast sky turning above the sleeping world as the planet turns beneath it. Hour by hour the constellations climb the eastern sky and sink down the western, the same slow wheeling that has measured every night since the world began, and watching it, you feel your own small weight settle deeper into the earth, and your own breath slow toward the rhythm of the turning sky. It is a strange and gentle thing to lie beneath this ancient sky and feel how old it is, how long this world has already turned before you came to watch it, how long it will go on turning after you are gone. The giants will sleep and wake and sleep again for tens of millions of years yet. The seas will rise and fall, the continents will drift on, slow as the slowest thought, opening new oceans, raising new shores. And through all of it the stars will wheel, night after night after night, over a world endlessly changing and endlessly the same, until at last, in a future so distant it can hardly be imagined, a creature descended from a small, warm mammal, asleep beneath the roots, will look up into the same wheeling sky and wonder what the old world was like. And the answer is this. It was like this. It was warm and green and slow and full of giants, and at night it lay down beneath the stars and slept. Lie still beneath the turning sky, and let the night hold you. There is nowhere you need to be, and nothing you need to do. The whole world is sleeping around you, the giants and the hunter and the plated wanderer, the fliers and the swimmers and the small feathered ones, all of them given over to the dark and the rest, and you are sleeping with them now, sinking down into the same deep peace, the same warm dark, the same gentle ending of the day. The stars wheel slowly overhead. The dew gathers softly on the ferns. The river murmurs on, and the great Jurassic night holds the whole sleeping world in its vast and patient dark, and holds you within it, safe and weightless and at rest. Now the light goes out of the world by slow degrees, and you stand in the wide blue dusk and watch it go. The red has drained from the western sky and left a deep clear green there, and the green is darkening toward blue, and the blue toward a violet so deep it is nearly black. And one by one, then by the dozen, then in their numberless thousands, the stars are coming out. They come out in a sky that no city light has ever touched, a sky of perfect black depth, and as the last of the day fades, they crowd it from edge to edge, a blaze of stars more thick and bright and near than any sky you have ever stood beneath, spilled across the dark like sugar on black glass, like the very dust of light. These are not your stars. Look up, and you will find none of the patterns you half remember, none of the familiar shapes. The constellations of your own night have not yet been drawn, for the stars themselves have drifted, across these 150 million years, into wholly other arrangements, and the figures men will one day trace among them are not yet there to trace. And yet it is the same sky, the same deep dark, the same cold clear fire of distant suns, and to stand beneath it now is to stand beneath the oldest ceiling there is, the one roof that has covered every creature that has ever looked up in wonder, the giants and the small warm sleepers and you yourself, all of you held beneath the same vast wheeling dark. There is no moon tonight, and so the dark is complete, and the stars rule it utterly. Their faint silver light lies cool across the whole sleeping plain, silvering the tops of the ferns, glinting on the slow black water of the river, catching the pale plates of the sleeping wanderers and the high snags where the fliers roost. The giants stand in their loose great circle out on the plain, dark mountains drowsing beneath the stars, and their slow breathing is the only sound, a deep, soft, tidal sighing rising from all across the lowland, the breath of the sleeping herd, the breath of the sleeping world. The air has cooled, the day's warmth lifts gently from the earth and rises into the dark, and the cool of the night settles down to take its place, soft and clean against your skin. Across the whole face of the turning world the same dark is falling. On the plains the herds are bedding down among the ferns. At the forest's edge the great hunter sleeps with its jaw upon the earth. In the warm shallows the fish have sunk to the still depths, and the long-necked dragons drift in the dark water with half their slow minds asleep. On the pale cliffs the fliers hang folded and dreaming, and in the trees the small feathered things are tucked beneath their wings, and in their hollows beneath the roots the little warm mammals are waking now, creeping out into the safe black hours to go about their tiny lives. The whole world breathes and sleeps and turns beneath the stars, and there is nowhere in all of it, on land or sea or in the air, that holds anything for you to fear. Lie back now, in your mind, upon the soft, cool ferns at the edge of the sleeping plain, and let the great dark sky fill all your seeing. The stars are very bright and very far, and they do not hurry anywhere, and they ask nothing of you, and to look up into them is to feel your own small troubles loosen and drift up and away into that immensity, until they are lost among the lights, until they are nothing, until they are gone. There is so much dark, and it is so gentle, and it holds the whole old world so softly, the giants and the seas and the small sleeping lives and you, all of you cupped together in the same vast quiet hand, all of you turning slowly together through the night toward a morning that will surely come. The river murmurs on in the dark. A night bird that is not quite a bird calls once, far off, and falls silent. Somewhere a giant shifts its great weight among the ferns and sighs and is still again. And the stars wheel slowly overhead, slowly, slowly, the whole blazing wheel of them turning about, the dark pole of the sky, marking the deep, slow passage of the Jurassic night, while everything beneath them sleeps. There is nothing to do now but rest. There is nowhere to be but here. The long day of this old world is over, and the long night has come, and it is soft, and it is safe, and it is deep, and it is yours to sink into as far as you wish to go. Let your breath go long and slow as the breathing of the giants out on the dark plain. Let the cool come over you, and the dark come over you, and the great wheel of the stars turn on above you unwatched. The world will keep itself through the night. It has kept itself through 100 million nights and more, faithfully, and it does not need your watching. You may let go of the watching now. You may let go of everything now, and lie back into the soft dark, and rest. There is one last thing to understand before you let yourself go fully into sleep, one last quiet wonder of this old world, and it is the strangest and most peaceful of all. It is the way this whole vanished world has come down to us at all. The way the warm seas and the fern plains and the sleeping giants have reached across 150 million years to be dreamed again tonight. It is the long, slow patience of stone, the way the world keeps its own memory, the way nothing here is ever truly lost. Let your eyes close now, if they have not already, and let me tell you, softly, as you drift, how the old world remembers itself, and how it came at last to you. Everything you have seen tonight will turn, in the end, to stone. Not quickly. Nothing here happens quickly. But slowly, across spans of time so vast that the mind can only gesture at them, the warm green world of the Jurassic will be pressed down and covered over and turned into the patient rock that keeps its memory. The giants will fall when their long lives end and lie down in the soft mud of the floodplain, and the river will cover them with silt, layer upon gentle layer, and the silt will deepen and harden, and the great bones will be held within it, kept, remembered, turned slowly to stone in the slow dark beneath the sleeping world. Think of how gentle it is, this keeping. A giant lies down at the end of its life in the soft mud by the river, and the mud receives it, and the water covers it, and the long, slow work begins. Season by season the silt settles over it, fine and soft and patient. Year by year, age by age, the layers deepen. The flesh fades and the bones remain, and into the bones, drop by drop, the mineral-laden water seeps, filling them, hardening them, turning the very substance of the animal to stone so slowly that there is no moment when you could say it changed, only the long, patient passage from bone to rock across a depth of time too great to feel. And it is not only the giants, it is everything. The coiled swimmers sink to the floor of the warm sea and are covered and kept. The tiny chalk-armoured drifters fall in their endless pale snow and gather and harden into stone. The small feathered one falls into the still salt lagoon and is held perfectly in the fine pale mud, every feather kept. The leaf falls, the footprint sets, the ripple in the sand is buried before the next tide can smooth it, and all of it is kept, all of it remembered, pressed into the long patient rock against a future none of them could imagine. The world loses nothing. It only puts things away, slowly, into stone, for safekeeping. This is the great quiet comfort of the old world, the thing worth holding to as you drift towards sleep. Nothing here is truly lost. The warm seas and the fern plains and the sleeping giants did not simply vanish when their age ended. They were kept. They were pressed into the rock and held there, faithfully, through all the ages that followed, through the rise and fall of 100 later worlds, waiting in the patient dark of the stone. And one day, in a future so far off that the Jurassic could never dream it, the rock would be lifted up again, and worn away again, and the kept things would come to light, the great bones and the coiled shells and the perfect feathered impressions, and far future eyes would look upon them and know, at last, that this old warm world had been. So the giants you have walked among tonight are not gone. They are in the rock, kept, waiting. The hunter that watched the plain with patient eyes is in the rock. The plated wanderer with its sails and its spiked tail is in the rock. The sea reptiles and the leather-winged fliers and the small feathered secret of the trees, all of them are in the rock, held in the long patient stone, remembered. And tonight they have come up out of the rock and the deep time and walked again, briefly, in the warm green world of your drifting mind, dreamed back into being for a little while before you sleep. Let the slowness of it carry you down now. There is nothing in all the world slower or gentler than the making of stone, the settling of the silt, the seeping of the mineral, the long, patient turning of bone to rock across the ages. It is a slowness that asks nothing and frightens no one, a slowness so deep and so calm that simply to think of it is to feel your own hurried thoughts slow and settle and grow still. The rock has all the time there is. The rock is never in a hurry. The rock simply keeps and waits and remembers in the deep, dark patience of the earth. And you are settling now into a stillness of your own, as deep and as patient as the settling of the silt. Your breath has slowed. Your weight has gone soft against the earth. The warm green world is fading gently around you, the giants and the river and the warm bright sea growing dim and far, sinking away into the deep dark patience where all kept things are kept. You do not need to hold on to any of it. Let it sink. Let it settle. Let it be put away, gently, into the deep quiet place where nothing is ever truly lost. And let yourself sink down after it into the same deep quiet, into the same warm dark, into rest. The plain is sleeping. The forest is sleeping, the warm sea is sleeping, and the deep cool water beneath it, and the high branches, and the still salt lagoons. The giant sleeps standing under the wheeling stars. The hunter sleeps at the forest's edge. The small, warm mammals run their quiet errands through the dark and will sleep when the dawn comes. The whole old world is sleeping, sinking, settling, turning slowly toward the stone that will keep it, and you are sleeping with it now, drifting down through the warm dark into the deep, patient quiet at the bottom of the world. There is nothing left to follow and nothing left to hold. The story has wound all the way down, the way the day wound down to dark, the way the giant lies down at last in the soft mud by the river. You have walked through a whole long Jurassic day, from the grey dawn on the fern plain to the bright hot noon by the river, to the long gold evening over the warm sea and the high feathered branches. And now the day is done, fully done, and the night holds everything, and there is nothing left to do but rest. Think now, as the dark deepens and your thoughts begin to drift and soften, of how long this old world will keep, of how the warm green age you have wandered through this night does not simply vanish when it ends, but sinks, slowly, layer upon patient layer, down into the keeping of the stone. A giant lies down at last in the soft mud of a drying riverbed, and does not rise, and the mud closes over it, and the river brings its silt, season upon season, year upon slow year, burying the great bones deeper and deeper beneath the floor of the world. And down there in the dark and the silence, across a span of time too vast for any mind to hold, the slow water seeps through the buried bone, grain by grain, and takes the bone away, and leaves stone in its exact and faithful place, until the giant is no longer bone at all but rock, a perfect monument to itself, sleeping in the deep stone. A footprint too can be kept. A giant crosses a flat of drying mud, one warm morning 150 million years ago, and presses its great three-toed track into the soft ground, and the sun bakes the print hard, and a drift of fine sand blows in and fills it gently, and then the floods return and lay down more mud above, and more, and the print is sealed and buried and forgotten, and it waits. It waits while the giants pass from the world, while the seas come and go, while whole mountain ranges rise and are worn away to nothing, and still the print waits in the stone, holding the shape of one slow step taken on one warm morning by one great unremembering animal, until a day comes, unthinkably far off, when the stone is split and the step is found, and someone kneels and lays a hand into the print of a foot that walked the world before all worlds they know. This is the deep magic of the stone, the slow, faithful keeping that is going on all around you, even now, unseen, beneath the sleeping plain and the warm, shallow sea. Every track, every fallen leaf, every drifting shell, every small body that lies down in the right still place, is being gathered in and pressed and saved against the enormous future. The world is writing itself down, patiently, in no hurry at all, across spans of time that make a human life a single indrawn breath. The warm green Jurassic is laying itself into the rock, so that it can never be wholly lost, so that long after the last giant has crumbled into the last stone, there will still be, somewhere, the faithful print and trace of all of this, waiting in the dark to be found and wondered at and loved. And there is a deep comfort in this, if you let yourself sink into it, here on the soft edge of sleep, that nothing truly good is ever wholly lost, that the warm mornings and the slow giants and the bright drifting seas, the small lives in the leaf litter and the wings against the evening sky, are all of them held somewhere safe in the patient keeping of the stone, kept faithfully across all the immensities of time, so that this old world that you have walked through tonight is not gone, not really, not finally, but only sleeping in the rock, only waiting, only kept, as you yourself are kept tonight, as you yourself are held, safe and warm, in the soft dark of this one quiet hour. Feel now how heavy and how peaceful your own body has become, lying at the edge of the dreaming plain. Feel how the long day of wandering has emptied you gently of all its weight, the giants and the river and the forest and the warm sea and the wheeling stars, all settling now into the deep, slow keeping of your own quieting mind, the way the old world settles into the keeping of the stone. There is nothing left to see tonight. There is nothing left to do. You have walked the whole warm world from its first grey dawn to its deep and starlit dark, and now there is only this, only the soft dark and the slow breath and the great patient stillness gathering you down. Let the giants sink back into the deep time they came from. Let the warm seas close over and grow still. Let the stars wheel on above the sleeping plain without your watching, and the river murmur on through the dark without your listening, and the whole old world keep itself faithfully through the night as it has always done. You may put it down now, all of it. You may let the last warm images dim and soften and slip away into the dark like stones sinking slowly through deep still water, down and gently down. Your breath is slow. Your body is heavy and warm and wholly at rest. The soft dark holds you as the stone holds the sleeping giants, faithfully, gently, asking nothing, and the long quiet of the Jurassic night closes softly over you, and there is nowhere you need to be, and nothing you need to do, and no further to go tonight but down, into the warm dark, into the deep still keeping of sleep. Rest now. Rest as the whole old world is resting. Let go, and sink, and sleep. Think of how patient the stone is. It is in no hurry to give up what it holds. The print of the foot, the curve of the shell, the long bones of the giant turn slowly to rock in the dark. All of these the stone keeps without effort and without end, through ages that would wear a mountain flat, holding them close and safe in its deep, cool dark the way the night is holding you now. There is no anxiousness in the stone, no fear of forgetting, no straining to remember. It simply keeps, faithfully, what is given to it, and asks nothing, and waits. For 10,000 years, for 10,000 times 10,000, as content in its long dark keeping as you are growing now in the warm dark of your bed. Let yourself be like the stone now, in this last quiet hour. Let yourself simply keep, without effort, the warm images of all you have seen tonight, the giants in the grey dawn and the rain on the wide plain, and the gold light over the gathering water, and the wings against the burning sky, and let them settle down through you slowly, sinking, the way the small shells sink through the warm sea to the soft floor below, the way the warm world sinks slowly into the keeping of the rock. You need hold none of it tightly. You need keep none of it by force. Let it settle of its own gentle weight, down and down, into the deep still keeping of your quieting mind, and let yourself settle with it, down toward the soft floor of sleep. So rest. Let the last of the warm green world dim and fade. Let the giants sink back into the deep time they came from. Let the stars wheel on overhead without your watching. The old world will keep itself, faithfully, in the patient stone, whether you are awake to dream it or not, and it will be here again the next time you cannot sleep, the warm seas and the fern plains and the slow great giants, waiting in the rock to be dreamed back into being. There is no need to stay awake for any of it. Let it go. Let yourself go down, gently, into the deep, warm dark, and sleep. And so the long night settles fully over the warm green world, and there is nothing left now but to rest. The giants sleep in their loose great circle out on the dark plain, their slow breath rising and falling like a tide. The hunter sleeps at the forest's edge, with its jaw upon the cool earth. The plated wanderers rest among the ferns, and the small warm mammals go softly about the dark, and the fliers hang folded and dreaming on the pale cliffs, and beneath the still black water, the great sea dragons drift in their slow half-sleep. The whole old world has lain down together, and over all of it the countless stars wheel slowly on, cold and clear and kind, in a sky that has never known a single light but theirs. Let your breath go long and slow now, as slow as the breathing of the sleeping giants. There is nowhere you need to be tonight. There is nothing you need to carry, and nothing you need to solve, and nothing in all this gentle world that can reach you where you lie. You have walked the whole of a vanished age, from its first grey dawn to this deep and starlit dark. And now the journey is done, and you may set it down, all of it, and let yourself grow heavy, and warm, and still. Feel the soft dark gathering you in. Feel the warm earth of this old world holding you up the way it holds the sleeping herd, faithfully, gently, asking nothing at all. The river murmurs on, far off, growing fainter. The stars turn slowly overhead, growing dimmer. The last warm images of the day, the gold light on the water, the rain on the wide green plain, the slow great shapes moving through the ferns, soften and blur and begin to drift away into the dark, like stones sinking slowly through deep still water, down and down and gently down. There is no farther to go tonight. There is only this, only the warm dark and the slow breath and the great soft stillness closing over you like water closing over a smooth stone. Let it close. Let everything go quiet. Let the old world keep itself through the night without your watching, as it has kept itself faithfully for 100 million nights and more, and let yourself sink the last small distance down, out of the dim light of waking, into the deep and dreamless dark of sleep. Rest now. Rest as the whole old world is resting. Let go of the last of it, and sink, and sleep. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel, as it really helps us continue making more content. Anyways, see you in the next one. And before you drift off completely, I'd love to know, of all the creatures we met out there in the warm Jurassic night, which one would you most want to fall asleep beside? The gentle long-necked giants drowsing on the plain, the great slow sea dragons in the deep, or the small feathered secret asleep in the trees? Let me know down in the comments. And sleep well.